Good morning, Raptor freaks. Lexi Otts here. It's Saturday morning, and the Raptors lost to the Celtics in a shorthanded game that was actually played at a very high level by both teams, especially the Celtics. They played so good to start the game. A lot of people said, wow, the Raptors defense is really bad at the beginning of the game, but that's not what that was. Darko, it said, like, man, I didn't want them to score so much in the beginning. And our defense was bad in the post game interview. But I'm gonna tell you right now, watching the Celtics and the way they were moving to their spots and getting open shots and executing, that's not necessarily bad defense. That's just really good offense. And credit to the Celtics for being such a disciplined team with execution because man, those guys don't miss open threes when they get them. You see that with Hauser and Pritchard. That it's just crazy. And then the other sign of a really good, very good team is they don't miss their free throws either. You can see Jaylen Brown go to the free throw line a lot last night, and they make their free throws. So this is a very tough team, a very good culture that the Celtics have around Coach Joe, and they're just like that. And considering the Raptors came into the game without three of their starters and then lost RJ by the end of the game to going to the back, uh, all things considered, the outcome of the game, I have no problem with it to a degree. Just because we're a younger team, we're in development, we're rebuilding. And in some ways, the Celtics are a little bit higher on the escalator towards Larry O'Brien. If they are going to get their next Larry O'Brien again, we will see. Maybe they'll get screwed up before then. But it's just how it is. And we threw some guys in the fire last night to play and say, "Hey, you need to do stuff to help us." And a lot of these guys did succeed and did help us in ways to, keep us close. This game, the way the Celtics were playing last night could have easily turned into ugly rout where they were just running the floor off and like running away from us. But the Raptors, to their credit, without their best offensive player and their best defensive player, were able to hang with the Celtics and keep it close the whole entire game. I mean, there was a period in the third where they did get away from us with a big lead, but we ate that up and we're starting to come back on the back of Rowan Barrett Jr. in the fourth quarter. But alas, he stepped on Sam Hauser's foot, twisted his ankle, and had to leave for the rest of the game. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda there with RJ and him, what he could have done in the fourth before he left, and how much the margin was, and how much because that momentum was moving for us towards coming back and getting back to on top of them. But alas, when RJ went back, the firepower for our team and the confidence to do that execution to come back went with him. And that's too bad. That's too bad. We know RJ's a fourth quarter star, somebody that will carry when it matters most, an ultimate competitor, somebody who's going to really, really try and make his team win. And that's just unfortunate. It's weird because they had RJ do the post game interview after the game, and that's not normal for somebody who leaves the game injured. That's really not, and that's a good sign, honestly, that RJ's not somewhere in the back of the Celtics arena writhing in pain because his ankle is all screwed up. No, he's calmly talking to Danielle Michaud in the post-game interview, and he seems like he's not that upset. So that's all good signs. If we're reading into things, being investigative, if RJ's doing the post-game interview and he's smiling and he's not looking like the world is having problems or something like that because he's hurt and he thinks he's going to miss time. No, he seemed like he's all right. So this is a good sign. It's a good sign that this is just a common ankle turn and that maybe it's something that he won't miss any time over other than missing the end of the game last night. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Of course, the Raptors are going to play a 2-game series against the Sixers starting tomorrow here in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. Yeah, we get to see Nick Nurse, Kyle Lowry, and Joel Embiid, and we'll just have to see what's going on with that. I'll do the preview for that game tomorrow. Today, we're reacting to the Boston game last night. Yeah, I'm going to be going to the game tomorrow. At the last minute, we decided to go to the game tomorrow. So I'm going to be doing the stream, getting in the truck, driving downtown, getting Adriana, and going to Scotiabank to watch the Raptors play Philadelphia tomorrow at 6. So I'm gonna be bringing my energy because I feel like this is an important game, and it's good to have the Raptor streak in the 100 level on important games at Scotiabank Arena because I can have a difference with my volume and my persistence. And I wish more Raptors fans would cheer the team like I do when they go to the game. Just give it all to them, seriously, because you can help them so much. And don't be a fair weather fan and just cheer for them when they're winning. No, cheer for them the whole time. I'll be doing that tomorrow. Yeah. So we got Instagram stories. We got Raptors Reddit reactions. We got the straight goods on Canadian goods, all that fun stuff on the channel today. A birthday, all the stuff we do on the channel. So let's get into it. We'll start with the chat and see where that goes first with Commissioner Trevor J at the top of the list. He's got words of wisdom. He's saying in a race between a lion and a deer, many times the deer wins because the lion runs for food and the deer runs for life. Remember, purpose is more important than need. Yeah, that's a deep one right there, man. Trevor, that's a deep one. I mean, I'm not sure how you get these. Like, are you just coming up with these off the top of your head in the morning, or do you have sources? Because honestly, man, this one's deep. This one's very, very deep. This you could apply this to the situation in Ukraine. Seriously. You know, the lion is Russia, and the deer or the gazelle, the antelope, is Ukraine. And if Ukraine lets the lion win and get them, they cease to exist. So yeah, this is an interesting metaphor, and it applies directly to the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the unlawful invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and the war invaders and awfulness of Vladimir Putin. Yeah, they got to keep fighting. They can't capitulate to Trump's dumb idea for them to surrender to Russia, because they do that and Ukraine doesn't exist anymore. And that's exactly like that gazelle getting ate by a lion. So power to the people of Ukraine. Keep fighting, keep holding off. I've heard that good news that the EU is going to give you a huge amount of money to continue to fund your war, to fight them off and stop them. And that's huge. And that's independent of the United States falling through as a flaky friend and doing the weird shit they've done this past year in relations with Ukraine and Zelensky. So, yeah, it's good news. The EU's got Ukraine's back. And in some ways, there's a lot of things that are happening in that conflict that are not good for Putin. And that country, the Russian country's economy is being strained to the point where there's a lot of serious problems going on in Russia, and that Vladimir Putin may be in big trouble very soon. In fact, I hope that this year, 2026, is a year where dictators and wannabe madmen that are bad, like Putin and Trump, are deposed and put out of their place because the people are sick of their shit and they're coming to get them. And the people will have the final say in the end. There is a fear in Russia for Vladimir Putin that the whole country will revolt on him and he'll get deposed to a degree. He can't poison everyone and throw everyone out a window. So, you know, this could happen, especially when people's lives are too messed up because of his very egotistical war and what he's done. You know, when real lives and real people and more people in that country feel it, they'll start coming at him, just like in the United States with Trump. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on all that. Thank you for the words of wisdom, Trevor J. I appreciate you and appreciate your patronage and part of this channel every single day. I really do. Blessings to the Jones family. Trevor's saying this: Raptors put up a good fight against the Celtics. If we had Ingram or Scotty, we win. I mean, there's no telling on that. This is always the woulda, coulda, shoulda. When players are out, the Celtics will say something like, well, Tatum was out. You know, this is all, you know, who shows up is who shows up. You compete with what you compete with. And I would say this: without Ingram and Barnes and then Barrett leaving, the Raptors did a great performance and next man up stepping up. And I was really happy to see the two ways get in there and contribute in meaningful ways. I was happy to see Jonathan Mobo get out there and contribute in meaningful ways. I was happy to see Grady and Jacoby get out there and contribute in meaningful ways. And we'll go over each one's performance very soon. and talk about the game from the box score very, very soon. But yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. What we could say Yak, we could say we could say Brandon, we could say Scotty. Yeah, we could say all that. But does it matter? No. Does it change the W? No. The Celtics get the W. And we just got to, continue to learn. In some ways, this was a game for those guys that don't get a lot of minutes to showcase and step up and do a little bit more to show the coaches of the Raptors to give them favor in the future. And that's important, especially against a high quality opponent like the Celtics, which is a real test as far as the Raptors, part of the reason why I think they played so well last night is they barely committed any turnovers against the Celtics in that whole situation in the game. The Celtics just don't miss, and they're a very, very polished team as far as their system, their personnel, and how they do things. That's a tough team to beat. You have to be very perfect yourself. And when you're playing a young core and a bunch of young guys that aren't really totally playing, and some of your leadership's missing, well, it's tough to do. It's tough to do. Trevor's saying that we're still number 4 in the East. That's right. This could have been a good game where we caught up with Boston and we're tied with them in the standings. Alas, they go up ahead over New York with the win last night, and New York fell. They lost, so they're closer to us now. And we have a 2-game series with Philly, who's a half game behind us as of last night. As the Sixers beat the Magic last night in a game that saw NBA referee great Bill Kennedy hurt his leg and have to leave the game. And prayers for Bill Kennedy. Hopefully he's fine. Karthika was saying that he's worked a crazy amount of games already this year in the first 9 days of January, and he just had a really bad leg injury. They had to take him off the court in a wheelchair. So Godspeed, healing of referee Bill Kennedy. Now, you don't like hearing this, especially when it's a good ref, right? Especially when it's a ref that's really popular and just a really, really top-notch ref. So, yeah, Sixers are a half game behind us, and that sets the table for a very, very important 2-game series here in Toronto where we need to protect the North. We need to beat the Sixers. I want to make a correction yesterday. I said to someone yesterday the Raptors had swept the Celtics before. I was confused. We've had years where we've beaten the Celtics in the season series, very much in the 2010s, but we never actually have swept the Celtics. I went and checked it later because I do this sometimes. I'm like, if you're going to say stuff, you better make sure it's right. What I was confused about is that the Raptors have swept the other 3 Atlantic Division teams many times. The Sixers, the Nets, and the Knicks have all been swept by the Raptors many times in our history. And I just suppose that, yeah, we've swept the Celtics too. But it's actually true. We have not swept the Celtics in a season series ever in the history of the Raptors, but we have beat them 3-1 a few years, and we've beaten them in the season series, I think 7 times out of the 31 years. Sometimes there's ties too. So don't just think they beat us so many times every year. There's quite a few tie years also. But there are 7 years in the Raptors history where we beat the Celtics in the season series. And most of them were with DeMar and Kyle. Let's just put it that way. All right, let me keep going in the comments. Let's see. HC is in the house. Rise and shine. Good morning to the undefeated. He's undefeated for now. We'll see if he's undefeated after tomorrow night. It's be a very, very tough matchup for him. Let's see what the score is right now. Looks like HC is, where is that game? Why can't I see it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, he's down by like 300. So you're in big trouble, man. Jason's got your number. This is not looking good for HC to keep his perfect 11-0 record. Will not be 12-0. And original fantasy champion Jason Dukes is going to be the one to topple the undefeated. Interesting. That's a lot of points and only 2 days to go. Let's see. HC saying the game was way closer than I thought it would be. I hope our injuries don't last too long. Yeah. I mean, the good news is Jakob is practicing with full contact, and he is nearing a return. He really is. I was surprised Scotty didn't play yesterday, but I guess that knee really did get messed up. The play that he got that hurt on was that one play that happened at the end of the Charlotte game where he kind of banged knees with somebody going to the basket, and he made a really good play. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see with Scotty. I'm like I said, I'm really shocked that both of them were out. Like I thought one of them at least would play. but both of them were out. And that was the first time either of them missed a game this year. Brandon and Scotty had not missed a start this whole entire season until last night. And that's wow, that was tough, man. That was tough. HC saying Martin is getting stolen from us for sure this season. He played damn good. Why are you saying he's getting stolen from us? He's under contract with us. He's on a two-way, and that means that next year he'll be on our team also. No, that's not true because HC, listen, Elijah Martin did an interview with Hello and Welcome yesterday with William Lou, and William Lou told Elijah Martin that he's talked to Raptors front office staff and they have long-term plans for Elijah Martin and that he's a part of the future for the Raptors. And a lot of everything signs point to that. I mean, you don't know. Why you say he's gonna get stolen from us? That's weird. He's not a regular G League player that can just get signed up. He's under our contract and he's not allowed to go sign with another team. So that's if you're worried, that's why, because he's so good, you think that somebody's going to get him from the G League, that he's not eligible for that. He's a two-way. And that means hands off. He's the Raptors and he can play on both teams. Yeah, Elijah's all right, man. I really like Elijah more and more as the season goes on. That footage of him at his parade back home that came out earlier this week just really endeared him to me. And I'm starting to see a lot about who he is as an underdog, as a winner underdog, and also as a humble man of the people, but also somebody that has an extraordinary talent that can do some amazing things. Now, the thing about last night with Elijah was, man, I was so worried for him that he was going to goose egg again. He was scrambling to make points and he missed a bunch of shots to start, but he finally made that first one. And that felt so good. I actually had typed it in the Discord server while we were watching. Elijah needs to make one soon for his confidence because he's missed way too much and he's played games and he's gotten goose eggs. And one of the rites of passage coming to the NBA is you want to score right away. You don't want so many games where you get 0-0. Your points per game average will look really bad by the end of the year. So it's good that he finally got some scores and he got his first basket, he got his first three, and he got his first breakaway dunk. And those were all rites of passage that he needed to get. And getting it against a top team like the Celtics, well, that's his cherry on top. That's a cherry on top. But yeah, no, he's got a marker on him. He's not, unless we trade him or we waive him or we cut him, he's staying with the Raptors for now. Now, is he all that in a bag of chips and gonna make the league for sure? Still, the jury's out still on that. A lot of good signs are pointing to good things, but the jury's still out on this. Seriously. Trevor's saying he's a two-way. He cannot be stolen from us. See, Trevor's saying he knows what he's talking about. Is exactly what I just said. That's right. Shaq Lindsay saying good morning. Or no, that's Daniel Franklin. Sorry. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning. I feel like it was a Bobby loss that open roster spot is a mistake. If IQ and Jacoby were more efficient, the game would have been close. I wish IQ was that guy who could drop a 40. He can drop a 40, but we're being herky jerky with him. We're telling him to play as a true point guard. And then when we lose our guys like Brendan and Scotty, we're asking him to revert back to being the prolific score, me, score first IQ. That's tough to do, switching gears like that. Maybe he's able to change the mentality from moment to moment, quarter to quarter, game to game, but that's tough to do, especially when you're trying to inlay a new mentality and methodology for your decision making. And IQ is trying to be more of a real point guard, a true point guard in this year. And that's the big stark difference in a lot of the things that are happening with him. This seems like a weird slag on the side from what you're saying. First of all, you're slagging Bobby, and then you're trying to slag IQ and Jacoby. Yeah, let's not do this, Daniel. If your proclivity is to come at them after a game that was close against a top Eastern team that had, more health and we are missing guys, that's the wrong move. Because honestly, that we would compete better with Brandon and Scotty in the lineup. And blaming Bobby or saying things about IQ and Jacoby is useless. Really, it's useless. What are you talking about? That open roster spot? Come on, man. Come on, man. This team did great last night. Last night was an opportunity for the Raptors to showcase some of the guys that don't get a lot of minutes this year that were playing a lot last year and see how they did, sink or swim. And well, a lot of them swam. They didn't sink, which is a good thing. So, this game last night, maybe there was a reality where we could have won it, but it was very, very slim pickings, especially knowing that Brandon and Barnes were out. So, Daniel, you got to temper your expectations. You're so upset that they lost to the Celtics in Boston last night without Scotty and Brandon. No, bro, that's the wrong move right here. In some ways, this was a good competitive game where we hung with a top level team where they played at a very high level, and we didn't have our most important two players, and we didn't even have our third most important player at the end, and we still made it a single digit loss. So, man, yeah, you got the wrong attitude this morning, Daniel. I'm gonna say that right now. IQ was great. He was a double double, a fantastic double double. In fact, he had the most assists he's had all year, and also Jacoby was extremely efficient. I don't know where you're getting your information from. Jacoby was like 5 for 9 from three and had a really good game last night. So, yeah, I don't get it, man. What do you want? Can I come down to your work and nitpick every single thing you do that's not perfectly right with your job? Can I do that, Daniel? Can I come down and sit in the corner and watch you just for a couple hours and say, Daniel, the way you put down your cup when you took a drink, you didn't do that exactly right, my guy. You didn't. You should have held it this way and then turned it this way and put it down there. Yeah. How's that sound? You want me to do that at your job? That'd be funny. That'd be funny. HC saying, "Oh, thank goodness," because he's definitely opened eyes. Well, that flashy dunk is great. I don't know how much eyes he's open. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. In some ways, man, he's lucky. In some ways, he finally got his points. He's probably been like up at night. It's been bugging him. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to get NBA points. I got to get bona fide. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Because he really, you could tell he had those like nervous jitters at the beginning of this stint last night because he like bobbled the ball and kind of had a nervous energy, like, oh, and even when he was taking the shots, the nervous energy kind of messed up his 3-point shots a little bit. So when he saw the first one go down, the 3-point shot, he exhaled and he's like, oh, finally, thank goodness. And Kareem shared this clip in the Discord a little while ago of Grady at that jump ball directing Elijah. Basically, Grady came up to Elijah before his dunk and he said, go that way. I'm going to hit it towards you and you will get a dunk. And he did. That's that play with the jump ball. Grady pushed the ball to Elijah on purpose and hit it a certain way so Elijah could leak out and run and get that dunk. And so credit to Grady Dick for using his knowledge to help the young rookie Martin get that badass dunk in transition. Because in some ways, Grady was the one acting like a veteran and telling Elijah what to do, and Elijah got success from it, which was awesome. Yeah, Isaac Campbell's in the house, and he's got an emoticon parade. Thumbs up. Lots of thumbs up. Justin Beaver, you want to see Justin? He is here. I mean, sometimes if you show me Justin on the screen, I'll bring him out. He's not been on the show very much. Wake up. Wake up. Isaac wants to see you. You don't want to wake up? It's not as cold right now. You know that it's not as cold. You don't have to hibernate right now. Why don't you get up and just say hi to them? What's wrong with you? Are you a teenager now? Is that what's going on here? I know you're my son. I love you. And I listen. All right. You don't have to go on the show. I don't want to make you do anything you don't want to do. All right. All right. All right. That's my son, Justin Bieber. He doesn't want to be on the show this morning. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's in hibernation mode. He's been sleeping so much. I worry about him that he's depressed. There's a dinosaur. There's some pancakes. There's some bacon. There's a croissant, and there's a pretzel there. That's awesome, man. Yeah. Daniel's saying it's interesting how two Raps fans can have very different world views. How two Rap fans? Well, if you're with Putin, you're with the dictator. If you're with Russia, you've fallen for Putin's lies and propaganda about a justified reason to come into Ukraine. No, see, I'm a Baltic person. I'm from Estonia. And totalitarian expansionists, spheres of influence and power. Daniel, you want to be on the bad guy's side? you go ahead and be on the bad guys' side. Because in the future, people will look at people that supported Trump and Putin as bad guys. And you're going to know that. And if it isn't that way, when we're living in a dystopia where they wrote the history books and we're in a really bad world, trust me, if we go in that direction. So if you support Trump or Putin, you're a piece of shit. And honestly, if you're saying that you have a very different worldview for me, well, maybe this isn't the channel for you, my guy. Seriously. And I will say, if you want, you can tell me how you feel to justify to have a different worldview than me. Go ahead and let me see what it is. And then maybe I'll decide whether I want to even deal with you at all in the future. Because seriously, this channel is not for fascist bootlickers. Let's just put it that way. If you bootlick fascism like Trump and Putin, if you're like a Nazi bootlicker that would have licked the boot of Hitler 100 years ago, this channel's not for you, Daniel. And if that those words hurt you or that you identify with this, wait, I love Trump, I love Putin. Well, you're a bootlicker and you're for Nazism in the modern age, and you're for white supremacy, you're for the subjugation of people of color, and you're for oligarchs taking over the world and running everything and not having real politicians. So you go ahead and be with the bad guys. You go ahead and be with the evil side if you want to. Just know that your ancestors after you in the years that are going to be embarrassed of you. Let's just put it that way. That anybody who's supporting Trump and Putin in the right way that things go, they will be, looked at as villains and they will be ostracized just like the Nazi party was. So you go ahead and make your choice now and decide this. And honestly, think about your children when you're making this. If you do have children or any people that you care about that are young in your life, think about the world that you're supporting right now and where it would be going if you continue to support this. At some point, some people that are supporting this crap need to wake up and understand they're being lied to. And they're also really creating a world that's not sustainable or good for the majority of people in this world. So, yeah, search your soul, Daniel Franklin, and see if you can figure out what is right and what is wrong. Because if you're standing with Trump, you're on the wrong side. Okay. Just so you know. And if you're same thing with Putin, because they're the same side. And basically, Trump is Russia's bitch and puppet. And it's so crazy because there's all these red-blooded Americans that love America that hated Russia for so long. And now they love Trump so much, which is basically loving Russia and going against all the American bullshit that they said when they were younger in their lives. So, yeah, I know this very well. I grew up in Florida. I've spent 20 years of my life in the United States. And I do understand America and Americans very, very well. And Russia, well, yeah, you're going to support Putin? Yeah, you're on the wrong side, bro. Let's just put it that way. Mr. Quasimodo saying this: you were right about elbowing shots because it happened this game. You were right about allowing shots because it happened this game. I hate how good Pritchard plays. Yeah, you know what they do? They have an action with Keita at the top of the key where Keita's such a good screener. He's a big key to all their shots right there, because it's not even like the Raptors are not doing well switching or doing things. They were doing a masterful job of switching and rolling off and getting two people. Like Darko said after the game, the credit the Celtics, they made a lot of shots with hands in their face. It wasn't like these shots were wide open. We were getting to them and they were making them. So, they didn't miss any threes in the first quarter, it seemed like. They had like three guys that went 3 for 3 from three in like the first quarter. That's just tough to beat. But were we getting blown out? Did they have like a 15-point lead after the end of the first? No, we were running with them. And in some ways, I'll take that small victory that the Raptors were able to run with a very well-oiled, playing really well Celtics team. That's a victory in some ways, guys, especially when Barnes and Ingram aren't there. That's really, really good, honestly, man. It's really good. Yeah. The Celtics is better than the one with Allen and Garnett. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I mean, that's the team that won a championship with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. I don't know if that's true. It may be true that they're more disciplined and have a better coach. I would say that's true, that Doc Rivers was not as good a coach as Joe Mazzulla is right now. I would say that's maybe true, but the talent and personnel for that other team was better than the team that they've got right now. Yeah, and a Celtics fan watching me right now would be like, "Yeah, Raptors freak's right about that." There's a better coach now, but a better team back then. I would say that. Fiercey's here. Good morning to Fiercey. Good morning, fam, and happy Saturday. I'm not mad at the loss. We put up a good fight, and Elijah got to play significant minutes. Also, missing both Scotty and Bi was a factor. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge factor. You're taking away like a man, Scotty is just blown up just as a great player. He really shouldn't miss too much time because right now is the meat and potato times to prove your worth for the All-Star. And if he's out for like 2 weeks, he could actually hurt himself getting on the All-Star team. So he needs to keep things fresh and out there, who he is and what he does, so that the coaches will definitely put him on the All-Star team. A lot of people are saying he's a lock. He's going to be on the All-Star team for sure. But I'm telling you, this could be a hidden thing. So, Scott, if you feel like sidelining for like a week or something like that, you can't do this, bro. This is the prime time to get your votes for the All-Star and get consideration for the All-Star team. And you don't want to be labeled as, well, he was hurt, even though you've only missed one game, and that was last night. You don't want to be labeled with that because that is sometimes an excuse for people to disregard you for the All-Star. It's like, oh, he was hurt. Like RJ, he's not going to get any kind of favor for All-Star because he's missed too much time already this season. You know, I gave up on the idea of RJ being an All-Star after he was out for like 3 weeks, let alone a month and a week. So that's part of it right there. We need him to play so that he can continue to refresh the memories of people why he needs to be at All-Star weekend. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Fiercely saying hopeful for a safe recovery for our 4 starters. Better being down now rather than close to the playoffs. Well, we don't want to be down or hurt at any time. In some ways, it sucks that there's been a little bit of banged upness right now. And because part of it is this stretch that we're going into in the season is tough. And we need all hands on deck. If we that's why I was like thinking, man, I'd love to go to Boston on Friday night because in some ways we are really kind of riding a high and we're doing well. But then those guys are out, and that takes away a real chance for us to compete with a top team like the Celtics and really see where we're at with the barometer. That's the thing that I'm probably the most upset about last night is that we didn't get to see our full complement of a team against a top team like the Celtics and see just how we compete like that at the point we're at right now. That's the big travesty of last night. Really, right there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. HC saying, rest in peace to my undefeated 11-0 should be noted as a record. Moving on to next week. No, that's not a record, though. I think in our fantasy league, we've had people run the table. Yeah. We had MK run the table in WA NBA fantasy one year. He went undefeated the whole entire season and the playoffs and didn't lose a single game a whole season. Yeah, he did that, but that was in WNBA fantasy. MK Meredith, he did that. Yeah, it's a little bit more about some of the players you're playing with. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a couple of sharks, some big time fantasy players in our league, and you're losing to one this weekend with Jason Dukes. Yeah. Yeah, fiercely saying this. I read Pritchard has numerous DMPs by Mazzola Oil, but he worked on his craft and was brought back to the main roster. What? This doesn't make any sense. He has numerous DMPs. When? Like 4 or 5 years ago? Like this man's been a steady part of their rotation for like 4 years now. Yeah, I don't remember this where Pritchard gets DMPs. Why? He's like his favorite player. He's like the embodiment of his mentality on the court for what he wants to do, him and Derek White. Yeah, I don't get this. I don't think this is right. I don't think this is right, Fiercey. Man, the DMPs are going to our guy Slim Doug, which is crazy. They don't even show him on the TV or nothing. They don't talk about him. It's like he's not even around. Like you don't see Chris on the cameras at all. You don't see him in any kind of way. It's crazy. It's really weird what's going on with Chris Boucher right now. Really, really weird. Isaac's saying this. Good morning to Isaac Campbell, the benevolent one. The only guarantee is more minutes for the next. Soon we will have the benches of benches like those 905. Yeah, we did see some stepping up by certain bench players in the absence. So let's go ahead and do stars of the game. Let's start with that here. All right, the number one star of the game last night, and this may be surprising. I'm going to do 5 stars, guys, by the way. I'm not doing 3, even though it was a loss, because I felt like they did a good job overall. My number one star of the game last night was Jamal Shed. And it's really weird. Why? Because listen, he had a weird effect on the game. Once again, he had a good plus minus. He was a +2, 13 points on 4 of 8 shooting. Those threes that he was hitting last night, they were deep. They weren't necessarily that close to the three-point line. They were like maybe 2 or 3 feet back from the three-point line, and that's pretty impressive, honestly. That is pretty impressive. And also 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 1 rebound, 8 assists, 1 turnover, 1 block, +2. Yeah, I like the 8 assists to 1 turnover. And he's just a good floor general. And in some ways, we saw a lot of quick shed last night, and that was very, very helpful. And the leadership and direction of Jamal Shed. He's playing winning minutes. And there was a couple of bad passes. He threw a really crazy high pass to Jamison that went out of bounds at one point. That needs to be cleaned up. That was probably his turnover. But most of what Jamal's doing is very high level and very helpful to the team. My second star of the game last night is Jacoby Walter. Jacoby started 31 minutes, 19 points on 7 of 12 shooting. That's fantastic shooting. 7 of 12 because he's shooting from outside. Almost all of his shots were outside. 5 of 9 from 3. 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 turnovers, a steal and a block, a -20 though. But Jacoby, he's engaged on both ends of the court. He's a really good, reliable open shooter right now. Like last night when he got open, you could feel pretty good about him making the shots with a 5 of 9 from 3. So yeah, keep going in that direction, Walter. And the defensive presence and scrappiness and energy is absolutely essential for you to play a lot in the game. You have to have that. That is a prerequisite. My third star of the game is Emmanuel. I went ahead and picked Manuel. He didn't totally shoot exactly the best, but he did overall have a great game where he got 17 points in 35 minutes, 6 of 16, 4 of 10 from 3. We saw Emmanuel making big threes early and getting us in the flow of our offense. He was part of us keeping up with the Celtics in the first quarter when they were just scorching hot. 1 of 2 at the free throw line. It's weird. He rarely misses free throws. He's been such a good free throw shooter this year. 2 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 turnovers, 1 steal, 1 block, a -20 for Manny. I thought Manny was solid. I thought that he did a lot of good things out there. And I mean, we could pick these guys apart a little bit for little by little each play. Some plays are going to be failures, some plays are going to be screw ups. But the overall net from me with Manuel is that he's adding and helping and doing things that are going to be better for our team in the long run. And that's the thing right there. My fourth star of the game is Sandro Mamukelashvili. He did start also. 25 minutes, 15 points on 7 of 10 shooting. He missed both his threes. He made his free throw, 8 rebounds with 1 assist, 0 turnovers, and a block, and a -5. Yeah, Sandro is just continuing to hustle. I love when somebody misses a layup and Sandro's there to clean it up and put the basket back. There's stuff like that. He was we went small a lot last night, but then also at times we went big with him and Jonathan out there together, or him and Colin out there together. It's interesting how we kind of went from small teams to teams that were bigger in some ways. Very, very interesting game for that. My last star of the game is I'm going to go ahead and give credit to Elijah for getting his points, his first points in an NBA game. 15 minutes for Elijah Martin, 7 points on 3 of 7 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. He's way more steady shooting from 3, trust me. In the 905, he's very good for making those open threes. It's just jitters. It's just jitters that he was 1 for 5 last night, but it was good to see him make the first one. And in some ways, these are all good signs. Maybe he'll be getting more confidence, feeling more at ease on an NBA court. In some ways, his defensive energy and the way he's running around and doing the things, he was doing things right. And he got favor with Darko last night. And the calling up of Elijah Martin to the NBA team and playing him more often is going to be more encouraged because of what he did last night. So, like HC's saying, we're going to come take him. No, he's not going to get stolen. He's going to get stolen from 905 to the Raptors. That's what's going to happen with him. He had 1 rebound, 3 assists, and a turnover, and 1 block. He was a +3. Yeah, Elijah Martin, not the best line. It's just I wanted to commemorate his first NBA points and his first dunk and his first 3-pointer. And those all three happened. We'll give an honorable mention to RJ while he was out there before he left. He was really the engine for our team. He was a steady source of trying to get scores, and he's just such a strong, confident player. It's really a shame that he just happened to misstep on Sam Hauser's foot, and that happened. But hopefully, this is a mild ankle sprain or a mild ankle turn, and there's no time missed. And RJ can take the day off today and be ready for the games against Philadelphia. Now, he may not play both of them. It could very well be he's going to play on one of the days of the back-to-back between Sunday and Monday's games. RJ, 28 minutes, 19 points, 6 of 15, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 4 at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 turnover, a minus 14. Yeah, that's solid, man. He had a point guard assist to turnover ratio, 7-1. That's fantastic. And yeah, the threes were going pretty good when he was in there taking them. Pretty good, pretty good. Colin Murray-Boyles was not out there a whole lot, which was weird. You know, in this kind of game with such prominent players out, you'd think that since he's played so well recently, he'd be getting like 35 to 40 minutes in this game. But no, he only played 21 minutes. 7 points for Colin, 3 of 7 from the field, same as Elijah. He missed both his 3-point attempts. He made his free throw. 2 rebounds, only 2 rebounds for Colin. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe Darko saw he wasn't getting after it or as active as he's been recently. And he's like, well, if you're going to be like that, I'll put Mobo in instead, because Mobo is getting after it and you're not, Colin, totally getting after it. So yeah, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals though for Colin Murray-Boyles. Those are nice. A minus 16 for Colin. Yeah, off the bench, Jamison Battle. Well, this is a kind of game where you could do something, Jamison. I know in some ways you got to count on the guys to get you the ball, to get you shot. But man, 12 minutes, 2 points, 1 of 2 for Jamison. Misses only 3, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, a plus 13. So he must have been doing something right while he's out there. Mobo, perfect from the field, 3 for 3 with 6 points in 19 minutes, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, a plus 1. AJ Lawson got in there for an appearance and got some points, which was nice. 6 minutes for AJ, a 3-pointer made of 1 of 3, 1 rebound and a plus 2, and it was an offensive rebound. And AJ and RJ were out there together at a certain point, which is fun to see the friends out there, the Canadian GTA friends. AJ RJ formation is fun to see when those guys actually get to play together. And Grady Dick, 24 minutes, 9 points on 4 of 8 shooting. He's an honorable mention, just like RJ. 1 of 4 from 3, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, no turnovers, a plus 14. Grady was the highest plus minus on the team yesterday. So yeah, Grady showing a little bit of veteran colors, but also at times it's weird. Grady and Elijah, both of them, they look like they didn't belong in the NBA at times in the middle in that game. And also they look like they did belong in the NBA. There was a little bit of time where they both looked like, man, you don't look like you should be playing the NBA because you're not exactly the level. And then there were times I was like, whoa, yeah, okay, maybe these guys should be playing in the NBA. It's tough to say in those ways. But yeah, Grady, keep going, man. 4 of 8 is a great shooting percentage. You were engaged, and keep your head up, man. I know that you're fighting. You're fighting like crazy for your NBA career and who you're going to be as a player. Keep going, man, because you're getting success. It's just tough. It's not easy. None of this is ever easy. If when you were a kid in Kansas and you dreamed about being in the NBA, I hope you didn't think it would be that easy, because this is not easy. And that's the one thing you'll be able to say for the rest of your life. Yeah, I played in the NBA. It's hard, man. You guys don't even understand. You see it on TV and you don't even realize how hard it is to play in the NBA. It's true. It's very hard. Now, very weird DMP for Oshai Abaji. Very, very weird. This is the kind of game where I was actually speculating he was going to start before the game when we heard that those guys were going to be out. And Darko got asked this question after the game. Why did Abaji not play? And Darko was very coy and kind of not talking about it. He's just like, he just didn't play. He just didn't play. He's like, why didn't Abaji play? It's Michael Grange. Why didn't Oshai play, Darko? He just didn't play. He just didn't play. That was the decision. I mean, this could be like some people are saying around Raptor circles. This could be that Abaji is not put on the floor to protect his health because he may be traded imminently. That is how some people are reading the DMP for Oshai last night. But it could also be because this is what Darko said. He wanted to give other guys a chance in the minutes and let them have a chance to show who they are, like Elijah, AJ, and Jameson and Jonathan. So I don't know how you read into this. If we see him DMP in the next couple of games, something's fishy. I'll say that. I don't think it's likely that he'll DMP in both the Philadelphia games, but we'll have to see if he does DMP in a couple more games. That does probably mean he's eminently going to be traded because they're not trying to get him hurt like Anthony Davis right before they're trying to move him. Right? Does that make sense? So yeah, the DMP for Oshai is a little mysterious. We'll just say that. On the other side, let's give some credit to the guys over there. Let's give some credit to Peyton. Peyton was the player of the game for the Celtics, 12 of 19. The thing about Peyton last night is it wasn't the threes. He's doing this weird little turnaround like in the mid-range where he gets so much room and he's money for it. And him and White both do it. Like they strong arm. White likes to strong arm people to the basket and make layups like in very cagey ways. It's a little similar to RJ. And then Peyton Pritchard likes to get room, and if he has a bigger defender or a small guy like him, he's able to either power the small guy off or quick the big guy away from him, get separation, and make these little fadeaway shots over them that are just money through the basket. And that was his bread and butter last night. I mean, that move in some ways is very unstoppable. And that's part of the reason why this dude is so deadly right now. He's not the biggest guy, but he makes a lot of space for his shot and he's money when he shoots it. He has a very, very confident thing to him. He really, really does. Credit to Jaylen Brown also playing as a leader on this team and showing up and putting his part in. You know, he was aggressive going the basket. In some ways, he's like, he wasn't on cruise control in a game where we were missing superstars. And he's like, oh, I don't have to play. No, we saw him going strong to the basket and going into contact and getting the free throw line. And so kudos to Jaylen Brown for playing as a top player on their team the right way. 25 points for him, 12 of 13 at the free throw line. That's the thing, man. He made so many free throws for them last night. So yeah, really, those were the two guys that were the biggest problem. Hauser was annoying with 5 of 7 from 3. Simons came off the bench and was a big scoring punch for them also. And Derek White's just steady. He's just steady. He wasn't big, totally huge in this game, but he was steadily helping them in many ways for sure. Yeah, just checking the box score on the other side for a second there. We'll do the team stats in a second. That's right. Yeah, let's see. Mr. Quasimodo saying our bench is definitely get a lot stronger. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Isaac's saying 100%. Trevor's saying IQ had 13 assists. He was doing his job, man. Yeah, and he's mixing it up and getting his own number too. He's getting people involved. You know, he did do a little bit of his chaotic IQ stuff for a little while because in some ways this game is demanding more shots and more offensive output by him. So his most effective way sometimes is chaos and being a little bit more like, wow, oh, look at Emmanuel. He's taking a shot out of all of a sudden out of the blue and maybe not at the best time in the shot clock or this or that. There's a little bit of that last night, but not too bad. Not too bad. He's really been playing within himself, which is good. Yeah. Mr. Quasimodo. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Shaq Lindsay saying, once again, no center, big problem. That wasn't even kind of the game. I mean, I know that the paint points like seemed like they were bad, but we were getting inside and scoring too. And I don't even know if that was the factor. I don't think that's what it was, Shaq Lindsay. I think the factor was like if we have Scott, well, he covers up a lot of that issue that you may have perceived last night. I mean, if it was a huge deal, then why didn't he play Colin more? Or why did he not we had a lot of lineups out there that didn't have any kind of big out there. But this is the thing. The Celtics are weird. They have Kata. Kata is a center forward. He's not even totally a true center. And then they play like 4 guards for the rest of their lineup, which is weird. You know, the Celtics are a small team in some weird ways, but they're scrappy and they switch. And that's how they get away with it. They really do kind of play 4 guards in a center. So it's a weird situation. They started Sandro and Colin. I was like, maybe that's too big. I was actually thinking that's too big for a starting lineup. And that maybe you want one of them to come off the bench and be the backup big in this game so that there's more distributed with the center minutes. So maybe that's how they could have changed the Shaq Lindsay. It's like, don't start both Sandro and Colin Murray-Boyles, have one of them come off the bench and actually do a way where you always have one of them on the court. But sometimes this game was a weird game where it was up tempo and small ball, and they didn't want to have any center on the court at all. I mean, we saw some crazy lineups last night. We saw a quick shed lineup with Martin out there with them. That's 3 point guards running around out there. Jamal, Elijah, and Emmanuel on the court all together. So yeah, there were some very interesting lineups out there at times. Of course, it's all different without Brandon and Scotty, because most of the minutes in the games all year long has had either Barnes or Ingram on the court. The Raptors have done a really good job of always having either Scotty or Brandon out there. But when you have neither of them available, well, you can't have minutes like that where you have either Scotty or Brandon on the court at all times, which has been the majority of the minutes of the Raptors this whole entire season so far. There's always been either Brandon or Scotty on the court at all times. But you can't do that when they're out, right? Can't do that. Fiercey's high-fiving Justin Beaver for being lazy, hibernating Beaver son. That's right. That's right. Fiercey's saying, Lex, talking the puppet is gold. I'm glad that you found that entertaining. You know, in some ways, if I'm going to do a puppet sketch every once in a while on this show, I want it to be creative and improvised and not necessarily carbon copy. You know, like I want it to be variants, and I want it to be kind of telling the long-going story of me and my Beaver son. And well, there you go. He's a teenager now, and he doesn't want to get up. He's, you know, it's melting out there. It's not bad out there. Seriously, you might want to go outside today. Yeah, you're just gonna be inside, and damn, inside, damn. Shaq Lindsay saying the paint was a problem last night. The Celtics were attacking the paint and dishing it out for threes. I believe when and if we get a big, everything will fit into place. Well, the big will be back on Sunday, and his name's Jakob. I mean, that's a big part of it right there. I mean, in some ways, I'm getting fatigue about worrying and saying that the big problem is not having a big. Because look, we just had Bobby come and solve the problem for a little while, but was that really solving the problem? No, because this problem is not the easiest to solve. And in some ways, the emergence of Colin and Scotty playing more like a 5 is absolutely starting to fill this hole. It's just, look, man, you don't have Pirtle, you don't have Scott, you don't have your 2 best big defenders available to you. And that's the hole you're talking about. And those guys are coming back. Do we make a move to fill this hole, or do we wait for these guys to come back and we just have it filled by that? That's the way you got to look at it right there. I mean, look, I can say, yeah, you're right. Maybe there was, but you know what? We were aggressively playing defense, and we were holding them back from making a lot of easy shots near the basket. It's just, look, man, the Celtics are really good with their systems and the way they pass off each other and they screen for each other and they take good shots. They're not trying to miss shots. They're very much trying to take good shots. So here, all right, I guess we're going to get Infamous 6 real quick. Info, hello, good morning.
Hello, Les. Good morning to you and the Raptor Freak family. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I'm mostly good. I mean, the snow has gotten lower. It's definitely melted a lot in the last couple of days. I'm hoping it'll melt even more today. So
yeah, the weather has really changed up. It's getting kind of nice for a little period of time here. Yeah. But let's talk about tonight. Let's talk about last night's game. Last night's game, I got to be honest, I'm not mad. It was a very competitive game.
Yeah.
For the players that we had on the court, the compete level was still high. And if you notice at the end of the game, the Celtics fans were kind of applauding the Celtics, and it was almost like an applause of relief. If you pay attention, it was more like, whew. You know, this Raptor team almost.
That's the thing. They had to be sweating a little bit because, you know, RJ, when he was still in and the way the momentum was going, and we did actually get within like 2 points of them. So they were absolutely sweating that part, but they did sigh of relief when Barrett went to the back because, I mean, yes, we could have come and stole that game if RJ didn't leave. I really do believe that.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually what I was gonna say next. I was gonna say, like, if RJ was allowed to stay in the game and he didn't get injured, unfortunate injury, we probably could have stolen that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
Because the runs were starting to formulate that way. And you know what? Darko said this after the game. At halftime, they made an adjustment. and it was working really well. That was part of the reason why they did so much better in the third quarter. And yeah, they had figured out some of the Rubik's cube to solve the puzzle with the Celtics last night, and they were on their way to doing it. But alas, RJ stepped on Hauser's foot.
Yeah, yeah, very unfortunate. I hope he's well, and I hope he's prepared and gets better soon, and gets back in the lineup. I wanted to talk about Martin.
Yeah.
Boy, we may have something special here. We may have another Fred VanVleet on our hands. And the reason why I say that is I was checking out the William Lou interview with him, and some of the stuff he was saying and the way he was talking, you can tell he has that fire in him. Like, for example, when he said, I want to be mentioned amongst the greats. Like, I want to be mentioned I want to be that guy that's competing for championships. I want to be that guy that's name is mentioned up there. So that shows me that he's just not going to just be satisfied with just making it to the league. He wants to be something special in the league. He wants to take that kind of like that path that Fred VanVleet take, where he wants to be known, he wants to be recognized, and he wants to be successful. And William Lou brought up a point that, since you've come out of college, you've pretty much been on a winning track. And I think that's a thing with him. And Andrew Jones has mentioned it too. He is a winner.
Yeah, that that's it. That is the word that like is associated with Elijah very heavily. I like that William had the stat about how much he's lost, like in the last year when he was going over and with that. I want to say this, and I don't want to be a killjoy. Every single guy who's in the G League and every single guy that's in the NBA has the same thing as he does. It's not special. They all believe they want to do this. I mean, think about what Marquise Noel said a couple years ago. He said he wanted to win multiple championships. And he wanted to be the greatest Raptor ever. And he said all this stuff. It's the right mindset, and you should have goals and a vision and a path you want to grow into. But once again, just because you want these things doesn't mean this is what's going to happen. And I want to believe in him, and I bet on yourself, Fred. Fred is a special, almost unique story. In some ways, duplicating what Fred VanVleet did is so much harder than saying it. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, I go back and forth on Elijah. Elijah had his X factors are the things that are going to get him there. And it's not going to necessarily being because he can throw down dunks like that. That's not the stuff that's going to. It's more like I know you're not saying that, but like it's going to be the defense. It's going to be the ability to be effective on both ends of the court by hitting open shots and being a disruptive defender that gets steals and absolutely gets the fast break going. Those are the things that the bread and butter. That if he can get that going, and like he has to be patient, he has to go step by step, like they said on that podcast.
Go through the process.
Yeah. And like I didn't like William Lou telling him, it's like, if I was you, I would be wanting to be getting there so fast and I'd be impatient. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that just tells a lot about your personality. It's like, dude, that's not what you should tell him, because like he's doing fine with his mindset and just going through the process, the steps, the way it's supposed to, and the way it's going right now. So yeah, that was a good interview for the most part.
Yeah, it was a very good interview. These are two things that I've noticed though. The one thing that William Lou said was very key that I picked up on. He said that the organization believes in him for the future.
Yeah.
And that's key. When an organization backs you and they see you as something that they can build on for the future, that is also a key element as well. And you mentioned it too already in your show. And the second thing that I picked up on is the compete level. Like, for example, when he was guard, they put him on Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown is not an easy guy
to
defend.
And he's giving up height to him.
Right. And if you notice, when he was guarding Jaylen Brown, he wasn't going under the screens. He was going over.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot, because a lot of players have the tendency to go under when they're facing Jaylen Brown, but he was fighting through the screens. He was fighting over the top.
The Raptors were doing a weird switch system last night when the way they were switching off of the Celtics. In some ways, they were maximizing staying close and not doing any kind of weird stuff where there's pocket windows where they get a little bit of open because of switches. And they were doing this really well actually last night, because there was a lot of times where they would roll into the other person and switched who they were defending like effortlessly, and they were all kind of working off each other the right way. There was no confusion, and people weren't getting left. And I had to give a lot of credit to Darko and that system of guarding the Celtics, even though the Celtics shot so well and it looked so bad. They were actually
Yeah,
guarding them really well. I thought that they were playing a very good defense for the most part for most of the game. So
absolutely.
yeah,
And the one thing that
yeah,
I'll give Darko, the one thing I give a little bit of a pushback to what Darko did last night was, I don't know if you picked up on it. I'm sure you probably did. Is when he went to that there was a weird lineup that he went to that was extremely small,
yeah,
and I think that allowed the Celtics to kind of push up the lead a little bit. And I was saying that, yeah, you can play that small lineup, but you can see that he called a timeout and then he switched it out immediately because it wasn't.
yeah.
I think he stuck with that small lineup a little bit too long.
Yeah,
That
in some
extremely
ways, that may
small
have been
lineup.
the part of the game, like what Shaq Lindsey is saying, where they start eating us up in the paint with,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe a player like Keita or something like that. Yeah, there was a period like that in the third that was kind of like that. And yeah, I saw what you're saying because he came back in with like two bigs. He like went very extreme. He was like a very small lineup, and then all of a sudden, Sandro and Jonathan were out there all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
and Colin, I was saying, like Colin, I think just like you mentioned, Colin, it was very strange that Colin didn't get a little bit of more push, a little bit more playing time, because I think he would have been extremely effective out there in certain
Well,
spots.
that's the thing. He wasn't playing the same way he normally does right now. In some ways, that's different. Whatever. It's Darko's going to give the minutes to who he feels like is the right people out there, and it just wasn't him in the second half. So it was
Right,
weird because I thought, like, look, those guys are all out. Colin's been on a real trend coming up. This is a really
right,
good opportunity for him to explode. He could have even like pushed his game into offensive areas that he hadn't done yet because this is the kind of game that's like that when people are missing. And
mm-hmm.
in some ways, that didn't happen at all. Like, it's not that they're going to run plays for him or anything, but if he gets after it and all of a sudden he's got like 10 points and 10 rebounds, and then Darko's playing him in the fourth quarter, he could have maybe scored 15 to 20 points last night. And
Correct, correct.
and it just didn't happen. The opportunity was there for any of those guys. That's kind of what it is. Jacoby, you want the brass ring? Here you go. You get the brass ring because you went out there and got 5 of 9 from three, and you took an opportunity of an absence and you went above and beyond. So that's the thing.
Absolutely.
Grady, Jameson, Colin, all those guys could have done that last night in different
Right.
levels. Yeah. So
And two
infamous.
more
One
points.
more thing. You anything else?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
just
got
saying.
two more points, and that's it. And
Okay,
that's it.
cool.
I'm out. For anybody who has not paid attention, the 76ers, I've been watching the 76ers. I watch a lot of other games in the league.
Mhm,
And trust me, Embiid is a shell of himself. This
mhm.
is not the same Embiid. Trust me, Raptor fans, when you see Embiid play, again, it could be an outlier because sometimes he does step up for the Raptors. But if when you watch Embiid, you're gonna see it. This man is a shell of himself. He's not the same Embiid.
I
He
would
moves a
wonder
lot
this,
slower.
man. I would wonder
Go
if
ahead.
he's very cautious right now. I would wonder if they're like walking on eggshells with him, literally because they're worried
Oh,
about him getting damaged, and that in some ways they're babying him, and in some ways this can get psychological, where it's just like I don't want to miss any more time. And he's maybe a little scared that he might get hurt again, and that'll really hurt the team. I'm sure that Nick Nurse, going against his natural proclivity to overplay him, is very much babying this and absolutely monitoring how he uses Embiid, like in the most magnified glass way. Like he's really probably, he disregarded this kind of stuff with our players for many years and didn't care, but with Embiid, he has to. And this is
mhm.
interesting. I think man, I'll be very curious to see what you just said tomorrow.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
watch it. You're
Well,
gonna see it.
I wonder if they'll play him tomorrow or Monday. Are they going to play him both games? Is he playing in back to backs? That's what I'm wondering.
That that's a very good question as well.
Because that's another thing. It
That's
could very well be there's a game between the Sixers and us in the next 2 days that is full of the stars and one that isn't. That's more like the game
mm,
last night. And it could be we're gaming it for, well, is Embiid playing in Sunday or is he playing on Monday? Jakob's going to play the game that he's playing. So,
correct, correct, right.
because that's the way I would
But
look at it. Now, the Sixers have been getting in trouble for lying about the availability of Embiid and getting fined for it at different times the last couple of years. So
Yeah,
come
remember
correct
that.
with your injury report, Nick Nurse, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You better come correct. But yeah,
Yeah.
Embiid is not the same player. I just noticed that he's
This is good
slower,
intel.
his processing speed. Yeah, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see
This
it.
is
And
good intel. All right.
like I said,
Infamous, your last point for the infamous six today.
oh yeah. The last point I want to make is that Grady,
Okay.
Grady compete level on the defensive end is the thing that's impressing me the most.
Mm-hmm.
His defense has drastically improved. I'm not saying it's completely where it needs to be, but he's giving that effort. He's moving his feet. He's getting in and digging that ball out. Those are things I like to see from Grady because the offense will come. Your offense will come and go, but the compete level of the defense is something that should be a stickler
Right.
in your game. And Obagi, the last thing, Obagi, I think I'm going to be completely honest. I think he's on the trade block. I think part of the reason, just like you mentioned, in my opinion, I think they're keeping him out because he's going to be a part of a package or a trade.
Well, we'll just have to see. It'll be telling if he doesn't play in these Philly games. It'll be very telling if that's it. Now, the thing with Grady is his defense is improving in certain areas, but he's still a liability that can be exposed in mismatches, especially if he's down low. Like if they back him down into the paint, that's a problem. So we have to continue to run defensive systems where we can kind of hide his weaknesses and play to his strengths. And that really means like having him up near the top as a point of attack defender and like kind of being on the ball at the top of the key and not getting sucked down underneath the basket because he can get in trouble down there. He can.
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you,
Infamous.
Lex.
Thanks for the call today
Thank
on
you.
this Saturday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And thanks for calling with your insights, man.
You as well, Lex. Have a great day.
Let's go, Raptors. Awesome.
Let's go.
All right, cool. Infamous 6 on the Raptor Freak reaction on Saturday morning. Good stuff. Good stuff. Love hearing Infamous talk about the game after game days. That's right. That's right. Let's keep going. Let's see. Nako saying, I want to do what we can to keep Elijah. Well, we have him. There's not a danger with him. I don't understand why you guys are so afraid. It's not like he's available and we'd have to either trade him or cut him. Now, I want to tell you guys, once again, his position is the same position as David Johnson, the same position as Justin Champagny, the same position as Ron Harper Jr. You know, look at these people that have come through our teams from before and understand that in a lot of ways, Elijah Martin's path is more likely to be like those guys than Fred VanVleet's. Okay. I want you guys to be realistic. I get it. He's like a new player on our team. He's a fantastic personality. He's an athletic guard that has really interesting hops. There's a lot of interesting things about him. But let's not overvalue him to the point where you guys are getting it twisted about his place in the NBA and the G League. Seriously. And in some ways, I want the best things for him too, but I'm also trying to be realistic and grounded to reality and how things work in the NBA and everything. So, good things for Elijah. Continue to work hard and just do what you can, and hopefully, good things will happen. But even if you do everything right, even if you think everything was that, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful because opportunity is a part of it too. And opportunity is very slim and fleeting in the NBA. It's crazy. It's a crazy business. It's super competitive. It's really, really hard to make it there. It's really, really hard to get years in that league. So let's temper our expectations. We are putting a marker on Elijah, and we do have plans to continue working with him and developing him in the years to come. So, but let's keep it realistic about the place and his talent and where he is in the league and the whole hierarchy and whether, what the paths are and what they really in reality are possible. He could have a path like Fred. I'm not going to say he can't be Fred VanVleet and be an all-star and be a $40 million player someday. But is that likely? Nah, the chances of that happening are very slim, guys. And he's going to have to do above and beyond to get to that point. Seriously, guys. Seriously. James is saying, good chance we see Elijah on the roster next year. Well, he'll be a two-way on our team next year, probably once again. And it could be a very similar situation to this year. But maybe he plays a bit more because Darko has been encouraged by what he's seen and he's given him more leash. So we'll just have to see. Once again, I feel like you guys are I like that you're positive and you want him to have all these things, but we have to stay grounded and realistic also. Let's see. Nako saying Jason Tatum and Peyton Pritchard are my least favorite Celtics. I'm glad you just felt like you needed to say that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are Celtics that I like. I do really like Jaylen Brown. I think he's good. I used to like Derek White, especially when he was on the Spurs, but I've grown to not like him as he's been on the Celtics more and more. And it's a similar reason to why I don't like Peyton too. Those guys are just competitors. They're annoying, and they're annoying to play against. Let's just put it that way. Jason's hurt, so I'm not going to pile on Tatum right now. No, Fiercely saying this. Pritchard had numerous DMPs. Some Celtics fans said he was proud of him as he improved to the point he is now a key piece in the roster. I'm guessing those DMPs were indeed 2 or 3 years ago when Missoula took over from MA. Yeah, I don't remember this period. I've seen Peyton Pritchard basically for like the last couple years being a absolutely integral Celtic, maybe their third best Celtic after Tatum and Brown, and that he's been regularly used. I don't He's not even been a bench player in recent years. He was a bench player a couple years ago, but he was still in the rotation. And if he was getting DMPs, I just don't remember this period. That's not fresh in my head. That seems like ancient history. It seems like something that like hasn't been any time recently at all. At all. Fiercely saying this. Hopefully our guy Chris Boucher. Hang on, it jumped ahead. Let me make sure I don't miss it. Hopefully, our guy Chris Boucher will get a chance to show why he can still be valuable. Rooting for him. Well, once again, you guys want all these things for Elijah and Chris. This is the NBA. It's a cruel, bitter world, and it's not just a cozy, warm place where everybody just gets what they want. That's what I'm saying. I said that all last year about Chris on our team. And well, it's the same thing this year. I mean, we can want these things for people, but it doesn't mean the reality of what's going to happen is what happens. And it's too bad. I mean, Chris has had a great career. And if he's not going to be in the NBA in the next few years very soon, well, he should hold his head up. He's a champion and he's a Raptors legend and he's accomplished a lot more. He's more like Fred than the player that left the league early because he stuck around and he did a lot. Now, did he do it at the level Fred did as an all-star and all this stuff? No. But Chris is still a huge success story as a player who came from a 10-day contract in the Raptors franchise. He came in on a 10-day contract, not a two-way. He came in on a 10-day and made himself into his career now. And that's why I'm like telling people, dude, he rode that ride and he got a lot out of his NBA career. He got paid too. The Raptors gave him a good contract and he got paid. So, I mean, nothing's guaranteed for Chris. And this, if another team picks him up, he won't play in Boston. If he continues to be in Boston, they'll continue not to play him because the coach is like this. If he goes to another team, then he's probably going to have to go to a team that's really shitty. Not like, I hope he doesn't go to Washington, but he could go to another team and then he could play then. But I don't know. No, there's no guarantees. It's not a nice, happy NBA world where they were just like, oh, Chris, you want this? Yeah, we'll give this to you. No, they want to need you. You got to give them something. You got to help them win, and then they'll play you. And I think that Chris is a good player, and in some ways he can do a lot of stuff. But there's a reason. There's got to be some sort of weird reason why Nick Nurse, Darko, and Joe Mazzulla have all benched Chris at different times in his career and for extended periods, not just for like a couple games. He got benched by all three of those coaches at different times. Seriously. Let's see. Shaq Lindsay saying frequently our players play out of position on defense and we are scrambling for coverage. The exertion on our players makes them prone to injury. I mean, that's just in general for the whole NBA right now. This league is a play hard league all of a sudden. And the floor, you're getting up and down the floor faster than ever because of up tempo speeds. Yeah, that's why you have to be at the top level of your health and conditioning and taking care of your body and recuperation on off days because this all matters. If you're an undisciplined player, if you're somebody who doesn't care about that stuff, if you've been a talent that just was talented and just showed up and didn't have to do any of that stuff, well, this league may not be for you anymore. And those players may be getting hurt more often. Seriously, this is just how it is, man. This league is harder and harder as time goes on. The talent is bigger and more skilled in all kinds of different ways. And you can't just be a knucklehead that has a lot of talent like Ja Morant and make it in this league anymore. You have to have the right mindset and the willingness to work because it's getting so much more competitive to make the league. And that right formula isn't just being able to jump out the roof and make a lot of shots. In some ways, your psychology and your personality and who you are as a person matters more than ever in the NBA right now. If you were a bad dude or you were a toxic person, you could have gotten around in the NBA and been in this league, but not anymore. It's changing. There's so many good, talented players internationally around the world and in the United States that they have the pick of all kinds of different people. And if you are a headache, if you are a problem in any other way, but you're super talented, you're not going to have a place in the NBA in the future. You better get your shit straight as a human being, because in some ways they got guys that are just as talented as you and they're working harder and they have their head on straight. But you, if you don't, you're not going to find a place in the league. That's part of the changes that are coming up in the league right now. Is basketball world is way more talented around the world. There's way better players all around, and they don't need you. They don't need you if you're going to be an asshole, if you're going to be unavailable because you're hurt all the time, if you're not coming to do the extra mile and the extra work, they won't need you. They won't need you, and you won't get called, and you won't stick in the league. Trust me, you won't stick in the league. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Kaz is saying, "Good morning, Lex and Rat Free Crew. I'm a bit behind on the stream, but thanks for the laughs with Justin Bieber. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in him, but I'm kind of like, you know what? He is a beaver and it is winter. Maybe I should just let him hibernate, right? Although the beavers do get up in the middle of the winter and do stuff to maintenance their dam, right? Right. Shag Lindsay saying this: having a true center alleviate that pressure and allow defense and offense to flow properly. Yeah, I mean, I don't get this, man. Sandro was there. We had Sandro, we had Jonathan, we had Colin. We had that position filled. I mean, I get it. You're looking at it. All right, I'll do the team stats. Shaq Lindsay's just harping on this team's point in the paint kind of a stat. We'll do the team stats real quick and we'll see how bad it was. All right, they shot 54%. The Celtics shot 54%. We shot 49%, but we did manufacture 5 more shot attempts, which is good. We made more threes than them. That's a pretty good accomplishment. We made 4 more 3-pointers than the Celtics in our game last night. That's considering how we shot against Charlotte and shooting 38% from 3 for the Raptors. They were scorching in the first half. They cooled off more in the second. But the Celtics shot 50% from 3. The free throw was pretty good. They got almost twice as many free throws as us. And then some ways that's James Capers and Ray Acosta. They're bullshit. The Celtics, especially Jaylen Brown, he got to the line the most out of anybody in this whole game. And that's like respecting him. You know, there's a couple of calls in the game last night where it's just because we have a younger player that's not respected in the league yet, like Elijah or maybe Grady or something, and they just breathe on Jaylen Brown and he goes to the line. There was some superstar calls for Brown last night that put him on the line. And it honestly really wasn't any kind of foul or the kind of fouls they're calling anymore because they're allowing more physicality. It's just respect towards Jaylen Brown and putting him on the court, on the line. When it's like a junior player or a young player that has no name in this league and they're just in the vicinity of him and he's going up, they will call the foul on them. You can ask the young Raptors. They'll tell you that. But yeah, I didn't do anything to Jaylen Brown, but the refs respect him. So if I was just breathing on him or anywhere near him, they put him on the line. So that's a little bit of what was going on there. The Raptors were good. They only missed 1 free throw. That was Emmanuel, the 1 free throw. We did get out rebounded 40-31, but Darko said this is why in the post game is because we missed more shots than them. So there were more rebound opportunities for the Celtics to go grab rebounds. So he wasn't that concerned about that. This is a stat that I really like here, though, for the Raptors. 39 assists, just one shy of 40 with 7 turnovers, guys. This is one of the best assisted turnover ratios the Raptors have put up all year long. This is like 5-1, guys. 5-1 as a team. You know, normally 2-1 is acceptable, but they did 5-1 on the assisted turnovers last night as a team. 39 assists, 7 turnovers. That's a huge accomplishment, guys. And in some ways, for having the youth of the team and the inexperience of the age bracket of the players last night, that is a huge accomplishment against a top team like the Boston Celtics. 39-7, guys. Hear what I'm saying? Seriously. The Celtics assist to turnover ratio was 3-1, 28-10. 28-10. Yeah, they didn't get us a lot of steals. We weren't able to steal the ball from them very well because they did protect the ball also very well. Fast break, very even. And then points in the paint, 62-50 for the Celtics. So they beat us by 12 in the paint. I mean, I get it. You guys don't want to see anybody getting easy baskets down low, Shaq Lindsay, but that's not totally what was happening here. Some of it is getting the ball up the court fast. Some of it is just the schemes that the Celtics run to get people free and getting towards the basket. I didn't really see them beat us over the head with Kada. It's not like Kada was the guy out there just dominating the paint and killing us. It wasn't that. It was more just in general, the Celtics offensive system was getting them open shots and they were nailing them. And some of them were inside. I just didn't see this big hole that you're talking about, Shaq Lindsay. I just didn't see it myself personally. Kaloy saying Celtics #2 offense in the league. I hate to admit it. They are good. Imagine Tatum being back. We saw a lot of good things with our guys. The Raptors are headed that way too. Great fight last night. Now, I'll make an argument that Jason Tatum may be like Trae Young. Yeah. What about that, Kaloy? What if it's like the Celtics play so well this whole year, way better than we thought without Tatum, and then Tatum comes back and he messes them up because he has to get his shots and he's more inefficient with his shot selection and his shot. He's often, a high usage guy and he may shoot like 6 for 24 or something like that. He could come back and screw them up. He could even come back and make them more likely to lose in the playoffs. It may be, I'm gaslighting the Celtics nation right now, but you may want to think about this. What if your team is better without Jason Tatum and y'all will do a better job in the playoffs without him? Some people say, you're crazy. Jason's so good. We want him. No, but really think about what I'm saying. Think about the situation with Atlanta and Trae Young and what just happened there. And wonder what if your stats don't look as good when Tatum's back in the lineup because he's an inefficient, high volume player that takes a lot of shots and he'll make your team not as good on the down low. That could be true too, right? Seriously. I'm gaslighting the Celtics nation by saying that, but I'm also saying, could there actually be some truth to this and what I'm saying? Could there be? Because the Celtics are going above and beyond right now without Tatum. And you bring him back in, well, could that screw them up? Maybe. I know people probably like, you're crazy. Jason Tatum would make them so much better. I don't know. Is that true? Mhm. Is that true? I don't know. Nako's saying you're not owed. It's just because you want it. Elijah should get more meaningful NBA minutes. He should, but nothing's guaranteed, Darko. And this world is cruel. This world has a harsh truth reality that in some ways make it crushing down on all of us very soon. And in some ways, it's nice to be idealistic and say, well, in this perfect world, Elijah should get this and should get this and this. That's not the real world, though. And sadly, in some ways, to get what you want, you got to get opportunity and luck, partially along with the skill and hard work. So we'll just have to see, man. Kaloy saying, I'm an Elijah truther. This guy will stick. Well, I hope you guys are right. I don't want to seem like a hater. It's just that I want to temper expectations because I do realize that when we get new players on the Raptors and we get enthralled with them, we kind of project higher than what is realistic for them. And that's all I'm trying to do right now is tether us to reality, even if there's a lot of signs pointing that Elijah Martin can be this, this, and this in the future. It's not I'm being a hater. In some ways, you can call me a doubter, but I'm also, trying to be, like I said, I'm trying to ground it with the reality of the NBA and the landscape and the politics and the way NBA teams do things. And in some ways, you guys can want all this stuff for him, but it doesn't mean it will happen. Reggie's saying the Celtics brain trust don't play Chris Boucher at all. On paper, it seemed like a good fit. Chris does a lot of what Boston loves, yet they don't play him. Yeah, maybe that, he's a liability in a certain way on defense and that other teams will exploit him. And that as soon as they play him out there, then they're like, oh, it's no good. It could be that I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know. I don't think it's Chris's personality. If Chris's personality was wrong for the NBA, he would have been bounced a long time ago. But he's stuck around and been around. I don't know what it is exactly. It's a weird thing. And like I said, there's 3 coaches now that have done this to him. And maybe it's just a part of the duality of him being a guy who probably shouldn't even been in the NBA and gotten to this point at this point. And I'm not saying because he's not good enough. It's just because of his path is so unorthodox. And his path is not the normal NBA path. So I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it. Nako's saying this. He puts up those points, not the same Embiid. He puts up those points, not the same Embiid. Or I don't even know what you're talking about there. Reggie's saying, yeah, Embiid's legs look like they're gone. Well, let's run them off the court, man. Tomorrow, at Scotiabank Arena, Raptors run up and down that court, and let's test Joel's get up and go, and whether he's ready to go, and whether he's a step away from stepping to the back. Seriously, seriously, yeah. Fiercey's got RJ on blast. I love it. Smooth saying not explosive at all, looking more like Bill Lambier, Joel Embiid. Interesting. Well, he does do goonish shit like Bill Lambier does too. That's true. Yeah. Kaloy saying Jacoby the gunslinger. You call him the gunslinger? Okay, that's interesting. Kareem saying most likely this will be Kyle Lowry's last days in Toronto as an opposing player. Sooner than later, his jersey will go up in the rafters, maybe even a statue. Yeah, this sounds all plausible. Sounds all plausible. Exactly everything he said. This is very likely to be Kyle's last year in the NBA, the 20th season. And because he's barely playing, honestly, a lot of what he's doing this year is ceremonial, and it's not even really like he's like contributing in the rotation or playing hardly at all. I think that Nick plays him sometimes just to kind of for his delight, or maybe just, a lot of it is that Nick just wants his brain around. And, their partnership, Nurse and Lowry, is so fruitful that that's part of it. In some ways, Lowry's like a coach on the bench. He's like Garrett Temple. He's basically like Garrett Temple for them at this point. Really, that's kind of the truth. Wayne saying this. Good morning to Wayne Strainer. Morning, Raptor Freaks. I'm all for Elijah Martin from day one. Definitely not Johnny come lately. His aggression is what I want to see. Oshai's skill level and natural attributes is missing. Just that. Yeah, see, I still don't see what you're saying. Like you've knocked Oshai for being soft and not aggressive. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. That man has attacked the rim and thrown it down on people through contact. That man is a physical defender that grabs people and holds people and guys that are bigger than him. And he's also able to guard smaller guys. Yeah, I just don't see this. In some ways, I would argue that they're similar type player, except Abaji is bigger than Martin. And that in some ways has more currency in the NBA. And that does matter. So I don't know, Wayne. I can't get behind like your view of Abaji. I know you said it before in the past streams. I just don't see that, man. Abaji is not like that. I just don't see the same thing. Shaq Lindsay saying maybe I was watching a different game, but I wasn't impressed with Dick's defense last night. Well, the thing about Grady is he's getting on the. There were two different times in the game that he there was a balance. There were times where Grady didn't look like he belonged, like I said, and that may have been when you were watching. But there were also times where he was active and engaged, and he was getting hands in places and getting steals and getting deflections and just getting after it. It's when he's hustling. It's when he's hitting the floor and getting a jump ball. It's things like that. It's things like that. And he was playing cerebrally at times last night, and that's good. We want Grady to play with his head, like play with smart. I could make a bad joke here, but we want him to play thinking like a cognitive game and not just on autopilot running around, just kind of in the flow of the game. No, he needs to be premeditating and thinking ahead where the ball's going and kind of like going to the right next place off of his understanding of basketball and basketball IQ. That's the best Grady right there, is when he's telegraphing and he's getting the spots ahead of the play so that he can make a difference. That's a huge strength that Grady can have. And when he does that, that's the best. That's the best right there. Shaq Lindsay saying Martin and Jacoby, I was truly impressed with. Yeah, Jacoby was a lot more steady. We saw that fundamental steady Jacoby, and Elijah Martin finally got his coming out party for the NBA with scoring. And that was nice to see finally. Kaloy saying Grady was good last night, though. The defensive dog in him is in him now. No need to worry about being a liability. Well, this is not a standard thing just going forward. It's a thing that fluctuates going up and down. And it depends on his energy and his what he's doing on the court. There will be times where you can't just say this, Kaloy. We can't declare that Grady is just fixed on defense and he's going to be good from going on forward. No, there are going to be games where he sucks again and he doesn't look right. And those will be games where Darko probably has to bench him. Let's see. Kareem saying, yeah, Grady seems to overcommit on defense, if that makes sense. When he switches, he seems to make the wrong move. When he's supposed to go under, he goes over. And when he goes over, Age is supposed to go under. Okay. I don't know if that's exactly all right. He's doing what the coaches have instructed him to do on the certain types of switching and defense that they're calling that time. So let's see. Fierce is saying, infamous call. That's when he called, is right then. All right, let me go ahead and do some more tabs real quick. We'll do the Instagram stories. There's Jonathan Mobo promoting serious players only coming into the Celtics game last night in the tunnel. There's Lindsey Dunn interviewing Tyreek Key after the last 9:05 game. And also, she's in Indiana all of a sudden. I'm not sure why she's Indiana right now. Let's see. AJ Lawson with pictures of him and Elijah and Jonathan at practice for the Raptors. That's got to be a lot of fun for AJ Lawson to get that Raptors jersey on and get in a big game like the Celtics game last night. Let's see. Chris Boucher is got some old man talking about since the year is ending. If I was ever rude to you or something like that, there he is shooting around before the game last night. There's a sighting of him, even though we barely saw him on the screen last night. Matt Devlin with the replay of Emmanuel hitting the shot against Charlotte. And then he's got the CMB dunk. Now, this dunk was pretty impressive. Seriously, Peyton was there and he was totally in his way. He was trying to push him out. It was totally dirty. And that's why they didn't call any kind of over the back foul because it's so shady. Like Peyton Pritchard trying to undercut Colin Murray-Boyles on that dunk. But Collins just like that. He took the elevator up even higher and threw it down over him. That was a really impressive dunk. Seriously, because that showed amazing athleticism and finishing through, contact and actually a dirty play by Peyton because he did try and undercut him with his butt. And Colin just threw it down on his head, which was awesome. Yeah, there's let's see, Raptors 905's got a picture of Olivier Sarr. Y'all, you don't just want to vote for All-Star for NBA. You guys want to vote for All-Star for G League. The voting is open for the up next game at NBA All-Star for the G League players. And we could be voting our G League guys from 905 that are undefeated. They deserve to get in there, right? Because they have played so well with their record this year that in some ways we'd like to get at least two Raptors 905 at the up next game this year, right? So y'all go vote for G League All-Star too. Don't just vote for Raptors All-Star. Seriously, vote for the Raptors 905 as well. They got the Elijah Dunk on the Raptors 905 account because he is their guy, and that's pretty awesome. Let's see. Andrew Jones, his son, has been playing hockey, and he got a couple goals playing hockey. And let's see. Fred VanVleet has got Fred VanVleet Jr. out at a waterfall somewhere, and Fred Jr. is wearing this crazy, huge, jacket. He's walking around with this crazy, huge jacket. It's an adult-sized jacket on a little kid, which is kind of funny. It looks goofy. Yeah, that waterfall looks beautiful wherever the Van Vliets are. Not sure. I know Freddie said that he's gotten a lot of recharging from going to nature in recent years, that he's gotten more of a connection to getting to the natural world and just finding the tranquility and the peace and the truth in the natural world. Shamshay posted again, but this time it's from a soccer game in Africa, a Cameroonian soccer game, and some guys freaking out on the sideline. So yeah, Shamshay, a second post from him on Instagram stories. It's interesting. There's Norman coming into the Miami game, looking stylish. There's a ticket giveaway for the Toronto Tempo, a Battle on Bay Street game. They're giving tickets away to the women's hockey, Toronto Scepters. They are going to play the Vancouver Golden Eyes. And there's a caption. There's details in the caption below. If you guys want to win tickets to the PWHL matchup of Toronto versus Vancouver, Toronto Tempo are have a ticket giveaway. If you can find them, they'll give you the tickets. Apparently, that's what's going on there. Let's see what else we got in the Instagram that's interesting. That's about it. There's your Instagram stories for today. Let's see. La 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 la. Kareem is saying this, but Grady has the tools, man. He has got great energy. And when he's on the court, I'd much rather him be paired up with Shed, Mamu, and Barnes. Those guys can find Grady when he cuts. As long as Grady's hitting his threes. The whole problem is this year his 3-point percentage has been dreadful, and he has to start making his open shots. There's just too many of those missing still. You got to think about how he was his first couple years in the league. He was such a money guarantee. Like if he's open, we were just like, oh, he's got it. And that's not the case this year. And that is a huge problem because that was one of the biggest things we depended on him. And in some ways, he's fallen through on that. He's not getting it done. He's just not getting it done, Kareem. Kaloy's saying, if I'm a small guard in the NBA, I would call Pritchard to get his number of his trainer. This guy always cooks us. Yeah, he's a good guy to emulate if you're like that. But in some ways, it's not just even about, it's Peyton Pritchard is a maniac. Like he has a crazy workout and mentality and everything like that. He's put in the work to be the person he is. So it's not like to duplicate that, you have to be willing to go that road that he went down to be able to be the player that he is. And some of it's maniacal and crazy, just the amount of time and work he's put in the way he does things. And you have to be a special breed to be able to do all of that. Seriously, it's not easy. It's not an easy route. And in some ways, he's paying off for him because he did do that. So yeah, he's a great person to emulate if you're his size and you're trying to make the NBA. Elijah could probably steal some things from Peyton for sure. For sure. For sure. That's right. Let's see. Let's see. Wayne saying this. Honestly, when Lex talks about Martin, I totally ignore it. Your opinion, of course, most of you are optimistic about Shamshe, a non-player over a player in the system who's developing correctly. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's fine. In some ways, once again, I'm just trying to be a tether. I'm overly optimistic and very positive for the Raptors in general. It's just sometimes in certain cases, I want to keep things more realistically grounded in some ways, just to show that I'm not totally just everything's idealized and perfect in Raptors world. I had a lot of promise with Shamshe, and I still do, partly because he's such a specimen. He is such a specimen. This guy, he has Giannis's body, and he has a lot of the chops that are absolutely incredible. He has a way amazing potential in the NBA if he gets cleared by fitness to play and he's actually allowed to develop further and be who he is. He has something that's very real and tangible. And that's the difference. In some ways, you just say, well, he's not even on the team. He's not even in the league. He's fitness to play. And then you're going to go say this about Elijah, but you'll say this about Ulrich. Well, it's about the physicality. It's about the athleticism. It's about the body. And I mean, you can't teach a body like Ulrich to a small guy like Elijah. It's just different, man. It's very, very different. And that's part of it, man. It really is. The potential for Shamshe to come through and be who he's supposed to be is higher than Elijah. It just is, even in the positions there are right now. Seriously, because this is going to be the shitty thing that's probably going to happen is that Shamshe will get picked up. I'm going to guess it's the Heat, guys. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to guess that it's the Heat, and he's going to blow up, and he'll be an amazing player in the years to come, and we will fucking feel it for that. I want him to come back because I really do feel like he's a project that's worth investing in and that he will be that dude. And I may not jive with what I just said about Elijah and be like, wait, you're saying this about Shamshe, but you don't say this about Martin? That's because Shamshe's physical gifts and who he is are absolutely outstanding. And they're top notch for this league and what he could possibly do. He could be he could be more like Scotty by the end of his NBA career in some ways, because he has a good passing chops that nobody actually realizes, and there is a lot of offensive potential for Ulrich in the low post and scoring because he has a light touch. So it's deep. It's not. It's like, look, I get it. It doesn't seem like that is the same thing like what I'm doing there, but I have to make it very clear why I see a difference between the two of them. Does that make sense? And I don't mind if you guys listen. I want Elijah to ignore what I'm saying about him too. Either that or use it as fuel and say, well, Raptors Freak is not totally sure if I'm going to make it. I want to prove to him that I will. And I hope he does. I hope he does. I said the same thing about Fred, guys. You guys got to understand this. When Fred came to the team and he was our third point guard, I said there's no way he's making it. So this is just the normal thing that I do. When I get a second rounder or a two-way or an undrafted player, I don't believe in them until they actually make it. And I didn't believe in Fred when he first came to the Raptors. I was like, this guy's not going to make the team. And I was absolutely wrong about him. And I'm willing to admit this to this day that I was wrong about Fred VanVleet like 10 years ago. So hopefully I can be wrong about Elijah too, because all I'm doing is saying the same thing I said about Fred back then. I'm saying about Elijah now. So some of you guys are saying, oh, well, he's going to be Fred then because Lex got it wrong. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying it is really, really tough to do what Fred did And if Elijah can do even half of what Fred did, he will be very successful. Let's just say that. How about that? How about that? Kareem saying Pritchard is basically Nikola Jokic, his 8-year-old son. That's weird. That's the best way to describe him. Very crafty. There's no way an under 6-footer has the footwork like Hakeem Olajuwon in the paint. Laugh out loud. I don't know if he's exactly under 6 foot. That's weird. I don't like the Jokic comparison. He's not like Jokic at all. Kaloy's saying, yeah, Pritchard's footwork is beautiful. Chef's kiss. Well, it's more that he just has a really nice spin away, fade away. Is really that, and these guys are good at protecting the ball when they go to the basket and using their bodies with strength and muscle to keep the ball away from the defenders, especially Derek White. Like the way he protects the ball when he gets in there to make those like layups right next to the basket. That was very interesting how he's doing that. And we could say, oh, we should have a center to guard that. No, that dude was doing a really good seal to get that shot for sure. And even if we had centers out there, he'd probably be doing that to them too. Seriously. Seriously. I mean, maybe Jakob could stop him. Jakob would be like saying, because they're friends, he'd be like, no, my old friend, don't do that and block Derek White. Maybe he could have. Maybe. Fiercely saying Bill Kennedy being wheelchaired off the court yesterday due to a non-contact injury, wishing him speedy and safe recovery. He's entertaining and somewhat fair. Yep, we covered that earlier. Wayne's saying Lex is funny this morning. Beginning of this season, Celtics was going to be terrible. They're out, and now Lex saying Celtics might be worse with Tatum playing. Don't gaslight Lex. You're better than that. No, I mean, listen, they're a special case. I was thinking about this. All my predictions of teams last year have come true except for the Celtics. Even the one about us. I was saying this last summer that we'd be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, and we are. And, I said this about Milwaukee. I said this about Cleveland. I said this about Miami. I said this about the Sixers. I said all this stuff about all these teams, and I got all of them right pretty much except for the Celtics and maybe the Pistons. Although I did allow for the Pistons to be a top team. I said, yeah, the Pistons will be a top team. I just didn't expect the Pistons to be at the very top. The Knicks are about right where I thought they would be. The Cavs are actually worse than I thought they would be. Atlanta is exactly where I thought they would be. It's just Boston's a special case. And really the thing that I didn't realize about Boston is that they have pride and they don't want to slum just because Tatum's out. Forgive me once again for thinking that the Celtics would be bad this year because they unloaded a lot of their big contracts and went down to a younger core that's rebuilding. But I think it's really that they're going above and beyond. And that's why they are where they are. And yeah, you can say that. Look, me saying that, listen, this is part of the subterfuge, Wayne. People playing all kinds of goofy shit with us. ESPN's got an article out this morning saying that the best trade for Ja Morant is Toronto. Seriously, they got an article out this morning, and this is once again Abaji's involved. They're saying Toronto gets Ja Morant, and the Grizzlies get Emmanuel Quickley, Ochai Abaji, and a first-round pick, top 14 protected. This is the best trade for Memphis to make because it will. That's what they're saying. The verdict, the Raptors deal is the best deal for Memphis. Well, they don't say it's the best deal for Toronto. They're saying that it would mirror the deal we did to get Brandon last year by getting Ja Morant. And we'd have Ja Morant, Brandon, RJ, and Scotty all together on our team. And Emmanuel would go the other way. In some ways, some fans would think this is a good idea, but Michael Grange came out with the reason why this is not a good idea simultaneously when this article came out yesterday, saying that Darko coached Ja Morant in Memphis as an assistant coach under Taylor Jenkins. And Taylor Jenkins is a very close friend of Darko's, and he probably is not all about having Ja come to the Raptors. So in some ways, that does matter, Raptors fans, whether the personnel of the team existing wants that player around. And Ja Morant is probably a big flat no if they personally ask Darko Rajakovic if he'd like to coach him, because he's already coached him, and he's been around him, and he is very close friends with Jenkins, and Jenkins and Ja feuded at the end there before Jenkins got fired. And partly the reason why Jenkins got fired is Ja Morant. So let's put this together like Michael Grange did, because he put it out there. And thank you, Michael Grange. I'll give you credit when credit's due as a journalist, and you putting out things that are absolutely helpful to the Raptors and saying, don't hold your breath on Ja Morant coming to the Raptors because of Darko and Darko's very close relationship with Taylor Jenkins. That in some ways, that's a no-go. That's a non-starter. And Bobby Webster understands this. So Raptors fans can get all in a tizzy because ESPN wrote an article saying the best deal for the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant is the Toronto Raptors. That doesn't mean this shit's going to happen because of the prior relationship in Memphis with John Morant and Taylor Jenkins and Darko. Does that make sense right there? But yeah, they've got like 6 deals for Ja. But at the end, they conclude that the best deal is the one with the Raptors. Oh my gosh. See, this is all gaslighting, Wayne. This is part of the warfare of the NBA at this point. Is fan bases are gaslighting each other. And I'm just doing it very openly and outwardly and saying, yeah, you might be worse with Jason Tatum. Now, I'll even say I'm gaslighting them, but they do want to second guess this. And they may want to think about this when he returns, and they may be gauging it like this. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we are a bit more efficient when Jason's not in the lineup. I mean, there's some truth to that, probably in a similar way, like Trey Young with the Hawks. I'll bet you there's some truth to that. Seriously, seriously. Yeah, you think I'm being funny and you don't want me to gaslight? Well, I'm gonna do weird things that I do. Randolph's here. Good morning to Randolph Phillips. Morning blessings, beloved Raptors freaks family. The promise from the Lord is to supply all our needs, not our wants. He is true to his promise. Believe, hope, trust, and receive. This is interesting. Oh, man, this is such an interesting word of wisdom. Partly it's because, in our world today, we have so much luxuries, we have so much wants, but they're not necessarily needs. So many people want their lattes, so many people want their content, so many people want this and this, and none of this is essential for living or life. There's a very cushy life that a lot of people have right now with a lot of things that are simple pleasures and glorified just things that are just happy, like things that that stuff could go away very soon. Let's just put it that way, because there's a possibility that society destabilizes and some things with supply lines and the way things are going to change. And it may very well be that everybody's living this lap of luxury with all these things that they don't really need, but they just want, will not get those things they want anymore. And that in some ways, look, the basic needs are clothing, food, and a roof over your head, security and freedom, things like that. But that's the thing, man. This what's coming up is so crazy and weird, and people just don't understand exactly what's going to happen. And at some point, you know what? I've already got a minimalist lifestyle myself. And I would caution everybody out there right now to cut down on your expenses and cut down on your extra shit that you're spending money on that you don't need to buy, because you're going to need that money. And you're also going to need to start concentrating on what you need and not necessarily what you want, because tough decisions are going to be having to be made. Trust me, in the next 2 years, 2027 is going to be a pivotal year in the changing of the ages in mankind's history. And in some ways, the changes are not going to be comfortable, and they're going to be very shocking to a lot of people, because they may be changes that they don't really want to make, but they may be forced to make. So just be ready for this on the lines of what RJ's saying here, right here, Randolph, that, figure out what are actually needs and what are wants, and maybe start making decisions for your needs, because that's the stuff that actually matters, is what I'm saying right there. Not the macchiato every morning or this kind of simple pleasure or this extravagance that you're doing. That shit may be going out the window soon, just so you know. And the people that will adjust to this new age are the ones that are more like me, that are minimalists, that don't need a whole lot to live off of. The people that are needing all this, they're major consumers and need all this and this and this. That lifestyle is going out the window, guys, very soon, just so y'all know. So figure out what matters to you, what's sacred to you, and what is absolutely necessary, and take that forward with you, because the rest of it, you may be very much having to leave it behind in a moment's notice, and you may be shocked how quickly things change. I'm telling you right now, I don't want to scare anybody, but there's major shit coming up right now, and some of it is not going to be pleasant or good. Trust me. But hopefully the overall outcome by the end of it all will work out for humanity in the long run. If we don't, we're doomed to just go extinct like the dinosaurs. I'm not lying. Seriously. If we don't get things right in the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to shape the whole next 200 or 300 years. And it has to do with AI. It has to do with quantum computing. It has to do with drones. It has to do with political systems and what we're going to live under, and what people are willing to put up with, and what they're willing to stand up and fight against, and what they are not willing to accept. because there's going to be people that are going to be very forceful with dictator kind of moves, and it's up to the power of the people to get in the streets like they are right now. Because seriously, this shit is no joke. And this shit is not a fantasy. This is not a movie. This is our real lives. And you guys need to fucking wake up and understand what is important. And that's the thing. You're going to need to hold on to what you need. And you may not have the ability to have what you want anymore. That's the thing. Blessings to the Phillips family and all the Rap Freak families. And I would say, look, once again, community and staying connected and knowing who your friends and your people is humanity. And anything that's anti-humanity, anti-life, anti what the creator had created is anti-Christ. And that is the stuff we're going to be fighting against. And it's already happening. We're seeing it in the news already. And in some ways, it's only going to get worse. Until we fight it and we stop it and we resist it and we stomp it out and we shape the world we want that is just and right for everybody and the right one for your children, your grandchildren, and all the ancestors that are coming after us. Because if you go with the other side, you're going to set up your grandchildren to live in some fucked up 1984 world that is not the right world for people, not an Orwell world, not a Malthusian world, not a world where human life has no value and people are slaughtered by the masses because it doesn't matter anymore and they don't want them anymore because it's all automated and because the jobs are not necessary. The serfs and the slaves and the wage slaves are not necessary anymore. So they'll just go ahead and call the world of people. And that's why they're making drastic cuts to healthcare. That's why they don't give a shit about anybody. They want you to die. I'm telling you right now, they think that there's overpopulation. They think there's too many people. They think there's too many people of color, and they want them to die. These people. I'm serious right now. If you don't believe me, you can go ahead and read the news and go look at some of this shit and open your eyes, and you'll see what I'm talking about real fast. Mischief saying this. Peyton Pritchard was a prick. Despite only losing by 8 with 4 starters out, that was a winnable game on the road if we had 2 starters out. I think so. I mean, I would even argue that, like I said, if RJ finishes the game, like Infamous and I were saying, there's a good chance we had a chance to steal it by the end of the game. I'd say even if we just had BI or Scotty, one or the other, we would have had a better chance to try and close this game and win it out for sure. Good to see a base, man. Shaq Lindsay saying, I think the NBA is now switching to players that do it on both ends of the court. Specialty players, Dick, are going to be extinct. I want Dick to show a lot more progress on both ends because his time is running out. Yeah, this could be true. Some of this, I think that it is true. The new NBA is going to demand of two-way players. You know, the very compartmentalized role player that I described a couple weeks ago of like just a defensive guard, doesn't score, doesn't pass. You know, that's not in this league anymore. Just a guy off the bench, a center that just blocks shots, and that's all he does. He doesn't even rebound. He just blocks shots. That's how specialized roles were in the 80s and 90s around the NBA. You'd have guys that just did that specific thing. Well, no, it's everything on everybody at all positions and both on both ends, two-way players. And like I said, this league's going to get harder and harder because the pool to draw from for players is so vast and wide. And there's so many good players coming from international places. And the talent is just going up and better and better. You get Victor. You got a 7'5" guy that plays like a guard. That's just the new league. It's just that where we're going right there. And yeah, to stay competitive, Grady does have to fix his second side, the defensive side, for sure. Yeah, Smooth saying Ja Morant, he's a wannabe gangster. No thanks. Yeah, I feel like this is just ESPN trying to dump a problem player on the Raptors. And that's why they write an article saying, and Raptors fans will read it and they'll be like, oh, ESPN thinks we're the best spot for Ja to land in. Well, who does this work out for? It works out for ESPN. It works out for the NBA. It works out for Ja Morant, but it doesn't work out for the Raptors. So why would Raptors fans want this? It works out for Memphis. It doesn't work out for Toronto. So why would Raptors fans want this? Oh, no, because he's so good, Lex. He's a dunker. He's so fantastic with his high-flying antics. Yeah, okay, you like sizzle. I like steak. I want to win an NBA championship, not dunk competitions and having some wannabe gangster sitting on the bench talking shit to people when he's not even playing. Who the fuck wants that on our team? Seriously, fool's gold. And once again, just a name and a superstar that's been promoted by the NBA wrongfully because he didn't earn it, because he didn't earn it yet. They just went ahead and promoted him from the start, and that blew up in their face. So why should we clean up the mess that Ja Morant is? Nope, we should not. No, we should not. That's right. That's right. No, we should not. Two-way players are a valuable commodity, hence why Trey and Jaw's value is potato chips. I mean, it's just a very interesting time right now. You have to be a player at both ends. You have to be. I mean, Ja Morant could be a good defender. It depends on how he wants to play that night. The problems with Ja are availability and just off-court problems. Those are his problems, seriously. In some ways, he could be a very winning player in the league if he would stop being a knucklehead. But the ifs, ands, and buts, if he's not going to change after all the trouble he's been in with suspensions and warnings and stuff like that, he's never going to change. So anybody who thinks, oh, he's going to magically get mature and just change and grow up all of a sudden, don't wait for that. And don't trade for him on the prospect of that, because that is not something. It's just like dating a serial killer and say, oh, he'll change if I date him. He'll be different with me. Oh, okay, sure, right. Seriously, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's right. The knot lays. Humpty Dumpty. The knot lays. Okay. His off court stuff is way too risky. In a city like Toronto, he might get exposed even more. Yeah, I just that energy is not necessary. Like the thing that happened with him and Clay Thompson this year was so cringe. And just like, bro, what are you even doing, man? And why are you coming after that guy? That guy has rings. In some ways, I don't like Clay Thompson. It's hilarious. But in some ways, Ja looked like a fool coming after him in street clothes in the middle of a game like that. He looked like such an idiot. And that incident right there told me that he has not changed in any kind of way, that he doesn't get it. He's just never going to get it. Seriously, he's never going to get it. Wayne's saying this, Lex, you're still batting at close to 90%. I appreciate that. And look, I'm glad that Wayne doesn't just see everything the same way as me. That's important. That's important. That's winning, in my opinion. Yep, gaslighting is cool, especially with Bomba's farts getting him being sent home. That shit was funny, laughing all day. I mean, that was more parody. There's like everybody wants to fill in the blanks and understand the NBA, and people want questions about Mo Bamba. So I was like, why don't we just make up some stupid shit just real quick? And it's just ridiculous. And in some ways, it sounds funny too. No disrespect to Mo Bamba. I hope that you don't have a flatulence problem. I really don't want you to have that. I really don't. Names is saying ref hit job, BS, man. I don't call it that way. No, there wasn't a ref hit job last night. The refs weren't a factor in what happened last night. I won't say this, Paisano. I'm sorry. I won't. Grady can take a punch in the face with no call, but the call reach in fouls on JKW. Okay. Once again, I said that's Jaylen Brown's uh, reputation preceding him, and superstar calls were given to Jaylen Brown last night for sure. And that's in dichotomy and difference to the youthful, young first, second, and third year players on the Raptors lineup last night with a champion and a finals MVP named Jaylen Brown. So that's standard NBA stuff. And in some ways, I don't call that ref manipulation, because honestly, it's not that they were trying to shut the door on us. It's just that they're showing respect and favor to a guy who's accomplished stuff in the NBA. Is basically what that is. Basically what that is. Shaq Lindsay saying, although we lost last night, it definitely was a win in my eyes. Confidence matters on the big stage. And what I saw was some of those guys in the G League are ready. It's great for Elijah. Like, seriously, I mean, he really needed to get his NBA points, his first points. I mean, in some ways, that probably, like I said, was bugging him. Like, he wanted that so bad. You could tell in the interview with William Liu that it's like when they brought up, like, William said, I know you're going to get your NBA bucket soon. And Elijah's like, oh, man. And you got to tell he's like kind of like sweating about it. He's like, yeah, I really do need to get out there and score. Well, you got it last night. Congratulations, Elijah Martin. Congratulations. You're a scorer in the NBA. You scored some points right there. That's right. That's right. Nameless is not, he still thinks this is totally what this is. One of the worst officiated games I've seen this season. Unbelievably one-sided. Yeah, I didn't see that. And I pay close attention to this. It wasn't that bad, honestly. It wasn't that bad. I can't say this. I can't say this with you. I can't. Shaq Lindsay saying, when you don't have true centers, there's nothing to deter them because the refs are on their side. IQ and RJ play well together. Love seeing their synergy. Yeah, they've got a built up 6 years of work with each other. I mean, that shows exactly why you don't want to shuffle up and deal every once in a while your players around. When they actually get established with each other, they're second nature. And they can have eyes in the back of their head and know exactly where guys are. You saw it in a play last night where Quickly got in trouble in the lane. And he was kind of up in the air and like, whoa, I left my feet, which is a big no-no, and I didn't know where to throw it. But he kind of just threw a Hail Mary without even seeing totally where it was. And he just knew RJ was somewhere over the 3-point line over his head. And he got it to him, and it was successful. So that kind of stuff is gold. That is the reason why you want time. That is why we talk about reps. That is why we talk about years together to get second nature. It's like Tatum and Brown. How much do they know each other? Seriously, how much do they know each other? And Hauser and Pritchard, those guys have all been together for a good 4 or 5 years. And that has been part of the reason why their team is so good. So that's why we got to be patient and keep the nucleus together, because the more time you stack IQ with Pirtle, the more time you stack Scotty with RJ, this stuff and BI and all these guys, the more you'll get stuff like RJ and IQ after 6 years. So that's why this stuff is important, that you don't want to shuffle up too much. You make some shuffles here and there to improve your team, but the overall nucleus you want to be building together, and that's what a rebuild is. That's what a rebuild is. You can look at a lot of the teams that won the championship in the last few years, whether it's Milwaukee or Denver, Oklahoma City. These are all teams that had a nucleus that built up over years together. And you need that. So that's why we need to keep the band together. And that's the starters that we have right now. That's the starters right now. You bring in John Morant, you're going to screw that all up because you don't have the IQ work with Jakob and RJ anymore. And that's important right there. That makes sense right there. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Shaq Lindsay saying IQ for Ja. What the fuck? Hell no. IQ off the ball is dangerous. Yeah, that's ESPN. They're gaslighting us. They're trying to tell Raptors fans what to believe and think, and then they'll come around and say, "What ESPN said it," and they're a bona fide sports page. Don't listen to them. They're not your friend. They don't want good things for you. Don't listen to them, Raptors fans. Seriously, they are not our friend. That's right. All right. Happy birthday to Tremont Waters. Tremont Waters was a replacement player for the Raptors a couple years ago. He has turned 28 today. He's, of course, player for the Puerto Rican national team. He played on the Raptors for 2 games in a replacement situation because of COVID. We didn't have any players available. And he got out there and he got 4 points per game. So he averaged 8. He got 8 points in a Raptors jersey. He was just around for just a blip. He was a kind of a bizarro Raptor. That's what I should call that little contingency of guys that came in at that time. Juwan Morgan, Tremont Waters, and who's another one? There was a Daniel Oturo. These guys, these were like bizarro Raptors that came in at a moment's notice because of COVID, and we didn't have enough players to play in the game, so they're hardship players. So happy birthday to hardship bizarro Raptor, Tremont Waters. It is his 28th birthday today. He currently plays overseas. I think he's playing on okay, maybe not. He's maybe retired now. I don't know. Last team he played for was Shanghai Sharks. And of course, we've seen him playing for Puerto Rico in AmeriCup stuff too. So yeah, there you go. There's our birthday for today. Tremont Waters is our birthday. Go Raptors Reddit reactions real quick. There's actually some funny stuff on Reddit this morning. I was looking at, let me find it real quick. They've got this thing where they have some people say BI models his game after KD, but it turns out KD models his game after BI. And they're showing a clip of Kevin Durant tossing a water bottle at the floor. It's so stupid. It's kind of a funny joke. It's kind of a funny joke right there. They've got, so people here really wanted Anthony Davis, right? And they've got the laundry list of all his injuries from his whole career and every single part of him that he's been hurt right there. It's crazy, man. Totally crazy. Somebody's posted a thank you Mo Bamba shit post on here. It's so crazy. Some of the stuff they post on here is really funny. There's another clip from last night on Raptors Reddit that's very intriguing. They caught a clip of Jason Tatum's reaction to Colin Murray-Boyles posterizing Peyton Pritchard. And he looks like he's almost cheering that Peyton got posterized, but then he's kind of like, oh, I can't cheer for that. And he gets all like rigid, like he's not like, it was an interesting clip. I don't know if I'd read it that way. It may be that he just saw a nasty dunk. And he was kind of like, ooh, like that. I don't know. Raptors Redditors are weird. Also, apparently, the Celtics coaches were scouting our team through NBA 2K badges. Like there's this footage on Raptors Reddit of Celtics coaches on the sideline looking at the NBA 2K page with the Raptors players and reading their badges. That's a weird way to scout a team. Like go on 2K and look at the badges that Ronnie 2K gave players in the league. Oh, he's a two-way ball stealer or whatever they call the different jobs. I know Scotty used to go over that all the time. But yeah, anyway, that's Raptors Reddit reactions. Kind of hilarious, some of it, man. Some of it's pretty funny, man. All right, we're at 2 hours. I'm gonna wrap it up very, very shortly. Let's see. We'll do the classic card of the day. Yeah. Blackhawks saying the reason Ja's trade destination is Toronto is the one environment to pull him away from the off-court antics. I don't know if that's true, man. I don't know if that's true. You know, we have issues in Toronto with gangs, and I wouldn't put it past Ja Morant to be able to find a way to have a gang beef in Toronto, even though he has nothing to do with anything here. I wouldn't put it past him. I could see him out there with the Galloway boys all of a sudden doing stupid shit or fucking around in some area of Scarborough, like, or saying some shit or something. Like, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, it seems like he wants to just cosplay and live this life. He'll find it here. It's not like that life isn't here in Toronto. Trust me. That gang life and that underlying society in Toronto is there. Trust me. Trust me. Yeah, there's a lot of different gang entities around the city of Toronto. And if Ja wants to be his little cosplay, I'm sure he could find people to cosplay with him here. Trust me. Trust me on that. All right, let's see. Okay, who is that? Oh yeah, okay. This is a hard one. This is going to be like a 300-point classic card. So good luck on this, guys. Good luck on this. This is a tough one. This is an old school Sixer, and in some ways it's kind of apropos since we're going to play the Sixers tomorrow. Who is this, man? Yeah, it's not here for him. Oh, it'll be here for him if he wants it. If he goes and looks for it, he'll find it. Let's just put it that way, Neil. You know, we live in our own bubbles. We don't understand exactly what's going on in the street in Toronto some ways, in some places. Galloway boys. Yeah, look out. Seriously. There's other areas of town too where there's contingencies. Let's just put it that way. Different ones. I mean, I lived in Kensington and I know the triad. I know like Chinese mafia and Chinese gangs in Toronto. There's all different underlying groups. You get the motorcycle clubs involved too. Come on now. There's all kinds of opportunities for Ja Morant to piss off the wrong people and make a bad mistake in Toronto. Trust me. You could act like we're just a very nice city that has no crime, but you're wrong. I'm sure he could find trouble somewhere. Seriously. All right, here we go. This is the card once again. I think I might need to give you guys some, I thought this was a certain player that I've been comparing Colin Murray-Boyles to recently. It almost looked like him from afar, but I looked at close. No, it's not him. Terry Cummings is a fantastic guess. Bryce Lawson. I love that guess, especially from a youngster who this is way before his time, and he's putting in his lot to try and guess. All right, I'll give you guys a clue. His last name is the same last name as two famous British people that have two different jobs. One of them is a cook, and he's got blonde hair, and the other one is the host of a comedy show that talks about all kinds of stuff. Yep, there you go. Slug Deezy got it from that. It is Brian Oliver. And I was thinking of Jamie Oliver and John Oliver. That's it right there. Slug Deezy, king of the classic card. Wow. Blackhawk saying he would leave those characters behind? No, he wouldn't. His family are those characters. His father is that character, T. Morant. He wouldn't leave it behind. He'd bring that circus up here. Are you crazy? I'll bet you money, Neil. If Ja Morant came to Toronto, he would have some sort of issue somehow, some way. He would find it. He would find it, man. He reminds you of Jarrett Jack. Yeah, this guy wasn't as good as Jarrett Jack. He was very much a bit player for the Sixers, but this is 300 points for Slug Deezy. This is a very impressive classic card get. Seriously, this shows why he's the king of the classic card, because I was like, man, nobody's going to get Brian Oliver. But like, wow, Slug Deezy was on it, man. I wonder if my clue helped him. Or he just saw it and he said, yeah, that's Brian Oliver. 300 points for Slug Deezy on the classic card today. Very well earned. And honestly, Slug Deezy, you're getting near the top of the trivia. You could actually compete to win the title if you keep going like this with Fiercey. You're very close up there, man. Yeah, you wouldn't have got it without the clue, Lex. Okay, so I did help that I said is a British chef with blonde hair, and then the comedy guy from Britain, both guys from Britain, the same last name. That's awesome. So my clue helped. That's awesome, man. I like that. I like that, man. Blackhawk saying his father isn't street. He just eating off him. Big difference. This is all right. I'm not even saying either one of them are street. They're cosplaying street, and they bring that energy to them. That's the problem. In some ways, they romanticize that lifestyle when they don't need to. It's actually dangerous to their lifestyle and ending it, but they want to still live it. And in some ways, you can tell his dad is a big part of the problem because he's not a good father to him. He's not teaching him to grow up and be mature. In fact, his dad's probably less mature than he is. So it's like, I don't know. I can see this totally different than you, Neil. You think he'd come up here and be a good citizen? I think the whole point here is to say John Morant is toxic and we don't want him in Toronto. But are you trying to make a case for why he should be in Toronto because you don't think he'd get in trouble in Toronto? Nah, man, I don't see this. I don't see this, even with our gun laws. I don't see this. I do not see this, man. It's really crazy. All right, I got to do the straight goods on Canadian goods. Now, this is really a weird one. I'm not doing a product by a company. I'm not doing any kind of thing like that. I'm going to do a product by the creator himself up above. And this is kind of going along with what I was saying earlier. Guys, I bought these books earlier this last year, and they're going to be very helpful to me in this new year because I'm studying and learning more about foraging. Now, this is an interesting idea. You guys, they lied to us when we were kids. They told us everything's weed if it's in the grass. That's bullshit. Most of the stuff that grows in your yard that is not grass is very useful. You can actually eat a lot of it. You can use it for teas. You can do all kinds of medicinal things with things that naturally grow in your yard. This is part of the big scam of the big corporations is they don't want us to have power for taking care of ourselves. So they've untaught us the farming ways, the ways to medicinally help yourself from your own yard. So this is a good time to get back to pivoting back to what maybe our great grandparents and those before were like. And foraging is absolutely a great way to get food source and also useful things. So I would caution everybody to start learning about edible and medicinal plants in Canada because this stuff is absolutely going to help people supplement their ability to eat in the near future because there may be crazy grocery prices. They're not getting any lower, guys. And we may need to pivot, like I've said the last couple of years, into growing more of our own food and also understanding and having the knowledge to see what's actually right in front of us that's useful that we could use. Clover is yummy. And I am not above myself to eat clover to get nutrients and vitamins that I need. In some ways, this is what I'm talking about. People are going to go from cafe lattes to absolutely, maybe possibly needing to learn how to grow their own food and forage. So straight goods on Canadian goods. How about Canadian goods you can grow in your own yard and you can use yourself and cut all the middlemen out and you get, it's like free food. Why wouldn't you do it? In some ways, we got to do this because things are going in the wrong direction. Trust me right there. Yeah. Trust me. That's right. Blackhawk saying, I'm saying why the rumors are spreading. His father has to be on good behavior up here or he gets deported. Well, if his dad has a felon, he's not allowed to come here. And that would be part of it is like, I don't know if T Morant's got a felony or not. He may not. I may be like just making bullshit up. I have no idea. He may not have anything and he could come up here. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe the really bad people in his entourage won't be able to come up here because of that. I don't know. I don't know. Either way, the rehabilitation of John Morant has not taken. I don't believe jack shit. And he's a toxic asset and he's a no-go to Toronto in my book, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, interesting stuff. In some ways, we're talking too much about John Morant at the end here. All right, let me wrap it up and get out of here. The Raptors did lose to the Celtics last night in a very competitive game, honestly, in a lot of ways. And we hung with the top team. We hung with a team that's absolutely polished and a very, very efficient quality team. And that is a victory in itself to a degree, especially with main players missing and a lot of young players taking most of the minutes last night. So hold your head up high. 7 turnovers against the Celtics is pretty damn good last night. My 5 stars of the game for the loss, Jamal Shed, Jacoby Walter, Emmanuel Quickly, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and Elijah Martin. with honorable mentions to Grady Dick and RJ Barrett. Yeah, honorable mentions to those guys. All right, tomorrow we will be seeing the Sixers, and I will have the latest lineup news and the ref report for the game tomorrow. And like I said, I found out, we're going to go to the game tomorrow. So I'll be in the house at Scotiabank Arena for the first game against Philly, because in some ways I want to set the tone straight and get loud and take some power for myself in my own life, and know that if I go down there, I can do my part, at least in what I can do with my voice, to try and help the Raptors as a fan. And I will do that. I look at it that way. Seriously. I'm like, well, Adriana wanted to go to the game. She messaged me a couple days ago and said, I want to go to the game on Sunday. And I'm like, I don't want to know if I want to go to the game. But I thought about it more, and I was like, you know what? Maybe they need me. Maybe I need to be down there to bring the energy and get loud and get that crowd riled up. And that may actually turn the tide and help us beat the Sixers on Sunday. And that's the way I go about it when I come down there. Every game I go to, that's my mentality. And it's worked. There was a game against the Cavs that we played against a couple of years ago, and I sat courtside practically, and I was so freaking loud, and the people around me were getting pissed. Some old lady was like, "He's being too loud," and told the usher to get mad at me, and the usher laughed and said, "I know that guy. He's always loud, and he's at a game." And well, I very much did the loud defensive chance, and Evan Mobley and the Cavs failed and lost to the Raptors in that game. And it was a very pivotal late season game that had a lot of implications for things. So if I can bring that energy again, I'll do it. And I would ask everybody who goes to games to have this mentality that I have, and go in there with your idea like you're a player, and do your part in your role as a fan and what you can do to help the Raptors have the best chance to win. Because a lot of people go for entertainment. A lot of people just go there to be watching a game, or, oh, I'm at a Raptors game. Some of us go there to help them, and like we're on the bench and we're coming to help them, and we're coming loud, and we're coming to bring that energy and those loud defense chants to make that building harder to play for the opposing team. And that's part of it right there. That's right. Mr. Quasimodo is saying, yes, yes. That's right, guys. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day. Once again, the opinions of this channel are solely mine and y'all's individually when you express them, not of the NBA, not of the Toronto Raptors, not of any of the players. We're not officially affiliated with Toronto Raptors. It's just we're huge fans and we love the team. And in some ways, I have the leeway and the leash to talk about some of the things I talk about on this channel because of no affiliation officially with them. So yeah, y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow at 9:30. Let's go Raptors. And no shame in playing a tough competitive game against a top Boston team like that. And kudos to Boston. I'm not going to dump on y'all. Y'all earned that, and y'all played very well last night. Very, 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 very well. That was a straight up victory by you guys, and I won't make any excuses for it. You guys had the better team last night. You played better than us, but we were missing a lot of starters, and that could have been part of the difference right there. All right, let's go Raptors. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go Raptors.